Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hit or Miss podcast. This is episode 6 of series 2. Just a little bit of business, first of all. Unfortunately, I'm not joined by my usual co-host, Andy, today. Unfortunately, he's not feeling very well, bless him. I would send him well wishes, but by the time this goes out, I'm hoping he'll have recovered. But, you know, spiritually, we're sending well wishes to you, Andy. But it does mean that, thankfully, I put out the Hit or Miss podcast signal, like the bat signal, only slightly less cool. And I was able to get some help from a former host. So please welcome back, Will.
I've never got these intros. You put me on the spot going first, but I always start the review really crap or the episode really crap because I forgot to get my phone from the unit, so I missed about half the introduction just to run to get my phone. It was so embarrassing.
I was just telling our guest that, I completely forgot to grab my headphones before we started, so I was talking to the guest, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm going to just grab my headphones quickly, I've got everything else ready.
I literally opened my phone, and I got a message from notification from Andrew, and it literally says, update just vomited. At that exact same time as you said, I hope he gets well.
I saw the same thing about half an hour ago, and I just sent him, there's nothing worse, do feel better. So we miss you, Andy, but he has been nice enough to send a few notes your way, Will, so you have...
I have put the notes in chronological order, so I will go through them as the episode progresses. Yeah,
we'll still get his thoughts on the review, but he won't be able to contribute to the Hit or Miss, but he'll probably just join us on Twitter to do that later, so as we post it out. And we're joined by a very special guest today, a little bit honoured, to be perfectly honest, probably one of the more famous guests we've had on, duly appointed Queen of Doctor Who Twitter, or Doctor Who Twitter, as I should say. You might know her as Lil Romana or Rebecca TV. Please welcome Rebecca.
Hello. Wow.
This isn't going well for you, Michael, is it?
It's not. I don't know what's happening to me today, so I'm so sorry. It's being contacted first thing and saying that Andy had dropped out, and then being nervous because it's like a pseudo celebrity we've got on this week. So, get to us, Doctor Who Twitter and YouTube is pretty huge.
Once upon a time, I had 8,000 followers, so I'll take the moral high ground here.
Stop bragging. I'm 4 followers away from 1,000, so if you're hearing this and I haven't quite got there yet on my Twitter, please go follow me. 4 away. Anyway. So how is everyone anyway, just quickly? Rebecca, how you doing?
I'm all right. As I said to you before the podcast started, I do look a bit like a Slazine today. I don't know what it is. I just look off, not on camera. But I'm doing all right.
If you're listening, that's absolute nonsense. I can pretty much guarantee. I can't see Rebecca, but from following her Twitter, I think you describe yourself as the short blonde flea bag. So certainly not Slitheen like. Yeah. And there's a reason she's called Lil Romana. There's a touch of Lala Ward and a little bit of Katie Manning in there as well. So,
I do sort of look like every blonde companion.
I've never really seen you as a Rose Tyler, but to be fair, I don't think I've ever seen you in cosplay, so maybe.
I have done a Rose cosplay. I did the Empty Child once.
Oh, cool. That's the Union Jack t-shirt thing.
Yeah, I'll have to do that again for Twitter.
Cool. Awesome. Rebecca's a great follow, but we'll get to the Twitters at the end if you want to follow us. And before we go any longer, because we'll have to keep things moving, I'm going to start with the news, because there's actually a fair little bit of news this week. Let me just try and... I should have probably done this, but I should have a look at when this episode's actually going to air. So it will be March the 14th as you're listening to this. So this is obviously news from the previous week because, I can't travel to the future just yet. I don't have the TARDIS. But, hopefully it's not going to be that old, and it's just things I would like maybe a little discussion and some opinions on. So we'll start with the big news of the week. And that was that it was announced this week that the TV channel BBC Three, which switched to being online only back in 2016, will return and be reinstated as a terrestrial channel, in their words, by January 2022.
Was it 2016? I swear I saw a tweet that was saying it's 2013.
No, 2016. I did look it up because for some reason...
that makes sense.
I was convinced
because I didn't think it was that long ago. And when someone said 2013, I was like, holy crap.
6 years. But yeah, the reason I mention it is that the news has led to a lot of fans calling for the return of Torchwood, the Doctor Who spin-off. It was one of the station's most popular shows during its 4-season run, and a poll is currently live. I don't know if it still will be when you hear this, but held by Radio Times, asking if you'd like to see a Torchwood season 5. Some wiser fans have also reiterated their desire to see the return of Doctor Who Confidential, another BBC Three original, and one that I certainly feel I'd love to see return, probably even more than a Torchwood revival. So what's your thoughts? You excited to see BBC Three back, guys? And would you prefer a Torchwood or a Doctor Who Confidential return when the channel comes back to our screens?
I mean, I don't think... Well, would I like to see Torchwood back? That's quite hard, because it did end on a cliffhanger, didn't it, with Miracle Day? So,
kind of, yeah.
But that was... I don't know.
It's never so dry as that.
I would like
sorry,
Doctor Who Confidential back. That'd be very sexy.
Even if they just showed repeats of it, like if they didn't bring it back for like series 13 or whatever, I just want to see the repeats of the Tennant and Smith era confidentials, and even maybe some Doctor Who extra, because they did some Doctor Who extras, but I don't think they were broadcast on television, because by that point BBC Three had been on the decline and they weren't showing much of it anyway. I think they may have shown the series 8 Doctor Who extra on that channel, but nothing afterwards. You could, of course, correct me on that, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. I honestly don't remember. I just hope they never re-show that, the after show from the 50th anniversary special, the complete disaster.
Oh, God, that was so awkward.
You know exactly what I was talking about. I love that I didn't have to explain that. You know exactly what I mean. If I just say the words One Direction, it just puts all the memories back.
It was like when it was the really laggy live stream, the connection they did.
It was so bad that the connection was terrible during that interview. The whole thing was bad. The hosts kept on referring to the actors and actresses by their character names. They were constantly bumping into the older companions and almost tripping them over and stuff. It was an absolute farce.
The thing is, that was such a special day, so I could just forget it. I was like so hyped with all the title sequence, like not the title sequence, the closing credits. Yeah, they had like special effects with the doctors coming out, and then straight after it's like, don't go anywhere. We now have a Doctor Who after party, and that seems so awesome to me, because 50th anniversary, they really pushed the boat out, even not the Wi-Fi budget, but it was still a nice little bonus to what is a great episode, and it still holds up to time.
I will say, if you've never seen it, I think you can. It is on YouTube, or it's doing the rounds on the internet. If you ever type in Doctor Who Live After Party for the 50th, and you can see Stephen Moffat just hilariously not giving a crap with how bad the connection's going against One Direction, and he's just sarcastically pointing out how badly it's going while Zoe Ball desperately tries to stay professional. There's something funny about it. But,
as for Torchwood, I really want to see a return, even if they don't continue it after the Big Finish audios, because I know that is a big factor. And whenever people say, "Oh, bring back Torchwood," some people always direct them to Big Finish. But I think, okay, I get that, but for TV, and I was thinking about this the other day after the news came out, and I was like, outside of the internet community that are aware of Big Finish is not a big company outside of the internet realm. So the people, it's going to have a massive bigger platform, like in real life, like on TV, than it will have in Big Finish. So I do think they should bring it back to TV, and I don't think the Big Finish argument holds up to scrutiny, because millions more would be consuming it if it was on TV, and I think that's the wise move. Even if they did, I wouldn't agree with any retconning of the Big Finish, but I would like to see the story continued on TV, whether it be a continuation from Series 5, and like include elements of the Big Finish that they did, because they did continue that arc, or they just create a Series 5 that's completely different and out of the way of that whole realm. I don't know how they would do it, but I think it's trended so many times over the years, and I think the interest is still there and still in great quantities, and I think it would be stupid for them not to act and bring it back just for one season at least and see how it goes.
Fair enough. I think it's probably a little bit more mixed than we might have suggested, and I think myself and Rebecca are both on the page of like, does it need to come back? You know, so yeah.
I still like Miracle Day. I still stand by that.
Oh, you know my thoughts on Miracle Day, but we'll probably maybe get to that one in a future review. But yeah, I'm not a fan. Maybe if I rewatched it, I'd appreciate it.
I guess.
Sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
I guess with Big Finish, I adore Big Finish. Like, I love it. But there is a cost issue as well.
Definitely.
So it did come back to TV. it'd be a lot more accessible to a lot more people.
Completely agree, actually. Yeah,
but then again, I'm not sure. I still don't know if I'd want it back though.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, I'd watch it, but I don't know if I'm clamoring for it, and I'd much rather see Doctor Who Confidential or something like that.
I kind of agreed, like as time has gone, it's been and went, because it's been a good 10 years now since he's been on TV, so the actors have aged, and I think I know it's 10 years this year, and they've aged, and I think, is it worth it? One after I don't know.
Well, at this point, what's left of Torchwood? That's the thing. I mean, they'd killed off so many characters. There's only really Jack and Gwen, and it's kind of
if
like,
it's got a story to tell, why not? If not,
I guess. Yeah. As I say, maybe they could go back and tell an unseen story.
And the bit. Oh, that bit. What's happening?
Good question.
She'll be growing up now.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, story number 2. Online retailer Zavvi this week launched the new Regeneration range of exclusive Doctor Who merchandise. Despite a wealth of grammar and spelling errors on their homepage, the collection is varied and interesting, with fans already expressing appreciation for the vast range of clothing, from classic Doctor Who t-shirts to Prydonian Academy varsity jackets. Why did I make myself have to say that? That was a tongue twister. There's also premium quality figures of various Doctors for the more financially gifted fan, because they retail at around 200 quid each. Or there's far more affordable items like a mystery graphic novel pack or a kids clothing range. There's also discount pricing on various Doctor Who DVDs and Blu-rays. You can check out the whole range at Zavvi.com. This is not sponsored. But yeah, have either of you guys seen the Regeneration range? And is there anything you've got your eye on that you might want to buy?
Ben sent me a Bad Wolf t-shirt that I think...
Already?
Yeah, wow. It was sexy. I keep using that word, but it was. But I haven't really... Maybe I should now. Yeah. Hang on.
I'm scrolling through my phone now and looking at the designs. They're not simple t-shirts. Like a good shirt, it can be very simple, just to play it safe. But these are well designed, debatably, but they are thoroughly designed t-shirts, and they're not just like slapping a logo on top of a t-shirt. They're like nice, like fan art or something like that, like professional art on a t-shirt. And I think for 13 quid, it's not that bad. It's actually quite reasonable, considering some shirts go up to 20 quid and are less good than that.
You might be surprised how well represented the classic Doctors are as well, because I know a lot of second Doctor fans, for example, on my Twitter, are thrilled that they've got some Troughton t-shirts that they can buy to represent. So
yeah, I might cop some.
Because I'm a Troughton fan. He's my favourite, and I just saw
some
Troughton shirt, and that's really perfect.
Awesome. I feel guilty because I probably just cost you money now by looking for them.
Buy that.
Yeah, I expect £40 to our PayPal by tomorrow.
Well, best of luck with that. I'm still waiting for the money to come out for the season 8 box set that still hasn't been bloody dispatched yet, despite the fact that it should be here in 2 days. Do not get me started. I'll go into a full-on Xander rant about deliveries and Royal Mail. Kerblam. But anyway.
Wow, very on topic.
Yes, rather. Believe me, I know. Oh, Bezos. Next up, pour one out for the Big Finish main range, which comes to an end this very month with the 275th and final release called The End of the Beginning. The synopsis reads: the universe is in a state of crisis, facing destruction from the results of a strange spatio-temporal event, and the Doctor is involved in 3 different incarnations, each caught up in a deadly adventure scattered across time and space. The whole of creation is threatened, and someone is hunting the Doctor. The 3 incarnations must join together to confront their implacable pursuer, but in doing so, will they unleash a still greater threat? The story runs at 2 hours 36 and stars, among others, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, Miranda Raison, Mark Strickson, and India Fisher. The story costs $14.99 on 2 CDs or $12.99 as a digital download, and can be ordered from bigfinish.com now.
Kerblam is ending. Kerblam is ending. Big Finish is ending. Do you say the final release?
The final main range release. They still will.
Right.
They've pivoted very much towards like box sets or things like the Companion Chronicles and short clips and stuff. But in terms of the main range, this will be the last one. But like I said, they've done 275, so it's really it's not like there's not plenty there to be getting on with if you haven't read them all.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Well, yeah, as I say, I've
never delved into it.
Yeah, I mean they're good. Don't get me wrong, but I think related to what you were saying earlier, Becca, it's more of it's a cost issue. So I only get them if they're incredibly reduced. But although I should start with
yes,
the free
I called
one.
you Becca. I've started a new name change. Thank you, Michael, for giving me that hope.
Call me whatever you want, honestly.
Okay, Susan. So what's your thoughts on the Big Finish? That's a deep cut. It shouldn't be, but gosh, that long ago now that that's a deep cut. Anyway, apologies, Lady Cassandra. What are your thoughts on the Big Finish, and do you have any of the main range stories?
Oh, I do, and I feel like a bit of a traitor because I do listen to Big Finish, like with specific box sets. Like I really love the Warster and Missy. Basically, I just love evil people. But yeah, I should definitely delve into the mid range. I've been meaning to do, but again, I just need to put money aside for it,
Yeah, I think it is far too cost prohibitive. I mean, if you think 275 of them to get through now at like 12 quid a pop or something. Not that they are, because as you go further back, they start getting to like 3 quid, or like I said, Spotify have the first 50 just free to listen to. So I will at some point. It's more of a time
great,
thing,
isn't it? I always get so shocked by that.
The only one I've ever seen is Spare Parts, and that's just because it was on Spotify.
I love that one. I did own that one because it was on sale for like 150 or something once, and it's really good. So recommend that one for sure. I could
go down a long tangent about how they played the previews at school, at college, let's say, and it was a very embarrassing little moment because it was like the scene where it's like, it's very sexualized. It's a very sexual sounding moment. And they just played that preview in the it was like completely random, but it landed on that segment, and the whole class, the whole student classroom was just dying in laughter. It was hilarious. But that's a digression. Tangents.
I'm gonna have to hear more about that story later, and we'll see if we can have that story on our Twitter so that I can post that go to horny jail bonk dog with a baseball bat thing to you.
I love how meme cultured you are nowadays.
Yeah, because of you.
Yes.
It's your fault. I'm down with the kids, and believe me, at my age, it's not easy. Anyway, finally, talking about Big Finish, covers and story details were revealed for Christopher Eccleston's first series back as the Ninth Doctor. Just to go through them quickly because there's very brief synopses. The first 3 stories are all on one set, and they are called Sphere of Freedom, Cataclysm, and Food Fight. If you wanted to look up the synopses, I won't go through them actually. You can just go and look on Big Finish's website. But they are there, totaling 200 minutes across 4 discs, or obviously digitally. Written by, let's say, I think they're all written and directed by Nicholas Briggs, and starring Christopher Eccleston. But I did have a look, and there's not really anyone else. Not to be too offensive, but there's nobody else hugely notable among the cast. I think Dan Starkey was the other more famous Doctor Who related person. So, and to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure how well the Ninth Doctor is going to work without Rose, or with a companion that we know. But I know there's a lot of excitement for that, so I shouldn't perhaps be such a naysayer. So, Rebecca, will you be getting the Ninth Doctors?
I definitely will. Because I love the Ninth Doctor. He's one of my favourites. I grew up with him, and I've literally just rewatched this one because I started from the beginning again, and I adore him, and I'll do anything for more Christopher Eccleston. But like you say, I am a big Rose Tyler fan as well. So I will miss her. But
it's just weird because the Ninth Doctor only really had that one year, so it's hard to imagine him traveling without Rose because we didn't see a lot of that. Yeah. It's like, where do the stories fit in, kind of thing. Anyway, as I say, suffice to say that you think Eccleston is
fantastic.
So yeah, I had to use the soundboard there. I couldn't resist. What about you, Will? Are you going to be picking up? It's 20 quid for the set on digital, or I think it's like 35 for the 4 CD set. You picking it up or not?
Oh, 100%. I will delve into that just because I also really, really, really like Eccleston's incarnation, and I think he was criminally underused, but that's not the BBC's fault.
Fair
I
enough.
will take that off you if you do not control yourself.
I can't help myself. I'm sorry. There's a soundboard of Eccleston that I almost rarely ever get to use because how much calls do you have?
It's mostly just 11 and 10 you use because they've got the most notable quotes. But yeah, Eccleston, great doctor. I wish he didn't leave. And if we got everything that came afterwards, I would have loved to have him have a second or third series, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And I do recall Eccleston saying he wouldn't return to Doctor Who if the scripts weren't good. I don't know if that was him or if that was Tom Baker. However, if that was Eccleston, I've got full faith that he didn't return just for the money. Obviously, that was a factor, but just because the scripts must be good to convince him to come back. Because Day of the Doctor, that was a huge moment for him to get additional exposure to make everyone happy, but he didn't choose it because he didn't think it suited his Doctor. So I think he's got high standards when it comes to scripts, and I can imagine, even without Rose, I think the scripts must be good enough, they must be watertight enough for him to come back and do a really good job.
Yeah, I think he's also got beef with the TV side of the BBC, but obviously he likes Nicholas Briggs, so with him writing and directing all three of those stories, it should be hopefully good. I hope everyone has a good time and enjoys it, and I hope they enjoy it as much as my Series 8 set when it eventually bloody gets here. So, can you tell I'm on tenterhooks about this freaking thing?
Yeah, it's literally a Xander 2.0 here. All we need now is to come in all being and bruised, and then you just have a run on like episode 10 about how crap it is.
Oh, if it comes and it's damaged in any way, shape, or form, I will murder someone at Kerblam.
This isn't a joke. This is a call for help.
I wouldn't really. I'm not the actual villain from. Anyway, that's the review. We're on the hit or miss section first of all. So, as I say, with hit or miss section, I will shout things out, and then we'll go guest, co-host, host. So we'll ask you, Rebecca, first if you think it's a hit or a miss.
I think I'm co-hosting a podcast with the psychopath.
You've just figured it out. No. The very first thing on the hit or miss section is the Quarks.
That's cool.
So, Rebecca, are the Quarks a hit or a miss?
I mean, they're cute. You know, I appreciate them. I'm not.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm like a stan of them. You know,
I think the fact that you say they're cute means that they've kind of failed in a way, because they were supposed to replace the Daleks as like the ultimate monster that everyone wanted a toy of, and that would come back.
Yeah, but let's be real, that was never going to happen.
So what do you say? Would you say it's like an accidental hit because they turned out cute, or a complete miss? What do you say?
Yeah. They're like what the thing should have been.
You're so positive. I can just tell you're just gonna give everything full marks and full hits. So yeah.
Well, I mean, unless it's something that I have like a personal vendetta against, then I like to stay.
The Quarks haven't peed you off or anything lately, then?
No, they haven't. You know.
Okay, cool. I take it you must obviously
It can
have seen.
It can be a hit.
It can be a hit. You must have seen the Dominators, then, their one and only appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a great episode, but anyway, not talking
I mean,
about
not
that.
really, but I'm just happy that it exists.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, any classic Who that exists and hasn't been wiped has got to be a plus. So, what about you, Will? Hit or miss for the Quarks, or the Quarks, or however you say it?
A soft miss, but I'm not as harsh on it as you may be, Mike. But, I don't think Dominators is that bad a story. I think it's fine. But as for the creatures, they're a bit ropey looking. It's literally like an iPod with arms. So I'm just going to give I'll give a soft miss, but it's not a hard miss by any means. They're not awful.
Okay, and I will call on my co-host, the soundboard, and give my thoughts and say... No! Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I don't know what it is. The fact that it was supposed to be like a captivating thing like the Daleks and it wasn't. The fact that there's the semi-cruelty of the fact that they've all got little boys working them who can't see. who were tripping over rocks and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, there's actual little
Jeez.
kids in there. I was watching the behind the scenes because I've just watched the Dominators on the DVD, and it was kind of like, yikes. And the reason why they were moving so slowly and stuff is just because obviously they can't see like more than an inch in front of them. But yeah, they weren't harmed or anything, and they were quite chuffed because one of the young boys who was inside the Quark had gotten in touch with one of the guys doing the DVD and said, "Oh, it was a good experience, and I know which one I am because there's a scene where I kick a rock out of the way, and I thought I was going to get in trouble." And the director was like, "No, it shows that you're formidable and you will not be stopped." It's like, the fact that they had to say that about a small little pebble or whatever shows how they're not that intimidating. But yeah, I think there's some cool ideas among them, but I'm afraid, yeah. I don't think the Quarks work all that well. They're not offensively bad, but I mean, just look at them. Honestly,
sort of cute, aren't they?
Yeah. Even the voice thing, though, it should work, but it just kind of doesn't. The fact that it's like it's a woman's voice, but they sample her laugh to make weird like beepy noises, and I don't know. It's certainly more annoying to me than the noises of the Zarbi will.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, when's he gonna bring it up the knob?
I'm sorry, I'll let that one go. So
I hate it. I hate it with a passion.
I
It's so annoying. Literally every single scene the zombie in is good. Like piss off.
I agree with that.
Oh,
I do have a
thank
personal
you.
vendetta against Zabi.
yes.
Wow, that's the first time I've heard you be negative about anything, Rebecca. I'm surprised.
The zombie are pitiful. I can't blame anyone who has that opinion.
Yeah, well, fair enough. We'll move on then, because I think that's safe to say that's two misses and a hit for the Quarks. So.
Yeah, we've spoken about the Web Planet for like the last 4 episodes.
Oh yeah, we'll not get into that again because we'll be here forever. I'm just queuing up the next thing now. So number 2 on the hit or miss section is something that I think Rebecca may have thoughts about. So here we go.
Okay.
Kadoosh.
Hello!
It's the character of Belial.
It's my son!
I was so caught off guard. I was expecting it to be like, oh, in a humorous way, like, oh, it's my bae or something. My son was not what I expected to hear coming out of her mouth.
He's my
Excuse
son,
me.
yeah. I birthed him.
You birthed whatever that massive poop is. So then, hit or miss, as if we need to ask.
He is the biggest hit in all of Doctor Who, let's be real. I love Bilal. I just adore him. I think he's adorable. My favourite is the way that John Pertwee sort of holds him. It's like really quite cute. And also, another Death of the Daleks is, I think it must be in part 4, where he sort of runs to Sarah Jane and hugs her. Now that is just so wholesome.
Oh yeah.
It makes cry. He's just so cute. He's just
nice
tiny.
It's
like me, Annie. He takes after his mother.
I was going to say, do you look like that?
No.
I don't look like Bilal. He looks like his dad, whoever his dad is.
Impressive that his dad managed to get some acting looking like that, quite frankly, but never mind.
Oh, the nose.
I must have been very drunk.
Oh, we've all been there. Anyway, so nice to see. Very strong hit on Belial from you, Rebecca. I'll ask you if you think hit or miss, and bear in mind that if you say anything negative, Rebecca may well murder you.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I can't, off the back of that, say miss. And I was just thinking, when you said we've all been there, I was going to say, I was thinking, when's he going to say, except us? Yeah, I'd give it a hit, sure.
Stop attacking me, dude.
It's a very... I do like the story. I do like
Praise him. Like,
yes.
He's the best character around.
The design is amazing. The ears are splendid and well shaped. The eye, to be fair, no sarcasm at all. The eyes are actually pretty cool. I do like the eyes.
Yeah. Okay, let me just see if I can find. I'm going to have to fall back on the old faithful then and just say,
Fantastic.
yeah, I like Bella. It's one of those things where the design shouldn't work, but it just kind of all comes together to do so. It's a really good performance, and I should remember who the actor is, and I can't remember, and I should.
He's called Arnold Yarrow.
Yes, of course. I knew if I heard it, it would go there. But yeah, I think it's a really cute performance and kind of sweet. That's a character who should be kind of cute and likable as well. So yeah, I think it's obviously don't kill me, but it's obviously a rather rubbish kind of costume effect. But like I said, it just still somehow works. So I think safe to say, excuse me, that's 3 hits for the character of Belal, and I will get rid of him from our screen. So we wouldn't have dared said anything otherwise with you here, Rebecca. That's the thing.
Yeah,
not that I would have anyway.
Dead.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't have done anyway, because, like I say, Belal is just cute and he works really well. And I will say, in an episode that is, to be charitable, not one of my favorites.
Yeah. Oh, come on! You've got some love for that.
Death to the Daleks is not good.
It's good.
It is.
Well,
it's fine. It's fine.
I love it.
I should have put that on the hit or miss, but in that case, maybe I'll give it a rewatch sometime. I do like the whole. Is it the city that they need? Anyway, not my favorite, but
sorry, I'm sorry. The Dalek stuff.
I know you adore Pertwee Dalek stories. I didn't mean to. Personally
I do.
See, I absolutely love Day to the Daleks. It's in my top Dalek stories, but the other two I'm not so hot on. Planet of the Dogs is fine, but yeah. Anyway, let me just share the screen one more time and say for number 3.
Pertwee slander is allowed in this house, Mr. Michael.
No,
Wilson.
it's definitely not. Pertwee's era is fantastic. I love it.
Absolutely.
Number 3 then on the hit or miss section is.
Look at
Romana.
It's the character of Romana, and in this case, the image that we are seeing, and you should hopefully be seeing if I've edited this well, is Romana 1 and 2. So let's go to you, Rebecca, and say that Romana as a televised whole, what do you reckon, hit or miss?
I adore Romana. She's my absolute favourite companion. And I mean, I say that, and I love Rose too, but Romana is my favourite. I just think cool. She's the first companion, really, who's on the same level as the Doctor and can, challenge him a bit. And she's just gorgeous. I say that, I feel like I'm being arrogant now because people say I look like a up in my life. No, I love their costumes. I love them. Yeah. I feel awkward now.
No, I was literally going to say the same thing. So, you cut to the chase there for me. I would just say, yes, I agree with you.
That character I look like, she's right awesome. So, yeah, as you can see on your screen at the moment, which I wasn't intending to do, but why not? It's right there. Do you have any thoughts? Because I was always curious about this, Rebecca, on Romana 3.
Well, she is Drusilla from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes! Thank you.
So I find that really cool.
Yes.
So yeah, of course I love her.
Oh yes, so that's all 3 Romanas. Definite hit from Rebecca. I am thrilled. You're definitely going to say a hit for Romana. Are you familiar with all of the incarnations, or are you just very much televised? You didn't know that it was Drusilla from Buffy who played the 3rd Romana on audio, at least.
Not at all. That was new to me.
Oh well, you should know these things. But yeah, so strong hit from. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit overly critical, but Romana's awesome, so you should.
But I am saying Romana 3. I haven't delved into Big Finish, Michael. I have no money, Michael.
Fair, but you do like the Mary Tam and the Lala Ward versions of Romana.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome, because I think they are
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I love those characters. For some reason, I really love the Lala Ward version more, but I think it's because she was in a couple of Douglas Adams written stories, and I'm all about. As the kids say, I stan Douglas Adams, so I'm here for that.
The best writers of all time, 100%.
Yeah, but not to say that Mary Tam was bad by any means whatsoever, and I haven't seen the last couple of Key to Time stories, or at least I don't remember them. So I probably should finish that up at some point. But yeah, I love, and having sort of heard Romana 3 and knowing that it is Juliet Landau, who is one of the nicest people, who's actually had conversations with me on Twitter and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, she's lovely. She's if you're interested in this kind of thing, she's currently working on a documentary about vampires in popular culture. It's an actual full movie, and it should be due out soon. I think it's already been released in America, but look it up. It's called, I think, A Place Among the Undead. I'll probably type in the description if I can ever remember what it is, but I think that's accurate. And yeah, it's a documentary where she interviews like Gary Oldman and various people who have played vampires. And yeah, she's a really cool person. But again, off topic, Romana's fantastic. I agree with everything that Rebecca said. She's very much the Doctor's equal, which for the fourth Doctor is no mean feat because he's very much a strong personality. And yeah, one of very few companions played by more than one actor or actress in this case. And yeah, they can get away with it because Time Lord, isn't it? As they say.
Can I jump in quickly?
Time Lord, innit? That should be my bio.
I should really make that mine, but no, I could never pull off being a Time Lord.
Rebecca, what are your thoughts on hobnobs?
Oh, come on, you could.
Oh, bless you. Let's quickly move on before I start pushing it.
Hobnobs. I'm interested.
Hobnobs.
What do you think of hobnobs, Rebecca?
Hit or miss. I haven't got a picture of hobnobs to put up.
Hit or miss hobnobs.
Hobnobs. I mean, not the biggest fan.
Oh, I love biscuit. I love oh yeah, I love hobnobs. Fair enough.
Will only brings that up because he's really bitter that he put out, I think, a jokey message on the Hit or Miss podcast Twitter just saying, what's your thoughts on hobnobs? And it's like the most interacted tweet we've put out since we started like a year ago. We've asked thoughts on so many Doctor Who things, and the most interacted tweet is, do you like hobnobs?
Yeah, it was literally the most simple tweet. It was like, hobnobs are a top tier biscuit, and that got the most interactions. I thought, I want to die.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I like hobnobs.
Oh, obviously not, but yeah.
I like hobnobs. They're a definite hit for me, but that's not part of our section. But yeah, hobnobs are great. Chocolate hobnobs are the superior.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me just move on and say.
Carry on. Sorry,
I'm moving on to number 4 then. So number 4 on the list of hit or miss for today is. Let me just see if I can get it up here. There we are. Nope. It's Miss Josephine Grant Jones. Or Joe Grant to you. Another one that I put in for Rebecca because I know, she adores this character. And I'll be honest, if I had to pick a character who displays your energy, Rebecca, based on your Twitter feed, it's certainly more Joe than Romana. So I don't know why. It just, yeah.
Really?
So anyway, your thoughts on Joe? Yeah, I don't know why.
Oh, I love Jo. I think, again, she's just really wholesome. And Katie Mann is just the nicest person in the whole world, let's be real. Like, she interacted with me so many times on my Twitter, and I'm not even sure why.
Same, yeah.
Like, once I put up a picture of me when I was little in a Halloween costume, she replied to that. I just think that's just so surreal. That's beside the point. Jo is just amazing. She's top tier. And I love her.
Awesome. I'm assuming you've seen the Sarah Jane Adventures episode and love that as much as we do as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That was the first I ever saw of Jo because I didn't watch.
Really?
Same here.
For a while, actually.
Michael, you forget we are about 20 years younger than you.
I know. Don't remind everybody. Jeez. You didn't experience the trauma of the Green Death when we didn't know she was coming back then, which broke my heart every time I watch it. Oh, yeah. That scene at the end of the Doctor just sadly walking away and driving into the sunset. I love Jo. But, anyway, so yeah, suffice to say, strong hit from Rebecca. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Will, the character of Jo Grant, or Jo Jones, if you prefer. Will, what do you reckon?
I'm inclined to say a massive hit just because I'm my lovely chocolate hobnob I'm eating while I'm saying this.
Let it go, man.
Yes, it is a strong hit for Katie Manning and a hit for the character of Jo Grant. I think she was fantastic. And as we were talking about Death of the Doctor slightly, I love the line where she's got the sunglasses on the top of her head and she says, "Where have I put my glasses?" And then they just point at her head and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm so stupid." That was such a funny
is very like that. She's ditzy, but not in like not in a offensive or like annoying way. She's just so endearing and so lovely.
Yeah.
Of course, we all know what her first series was. You know, might be nice for me to be able to watch it sometime soon. You know, I'm just saying. So you know. Oh my gosh! I killed Will.
On the wrong way.
Kill Will, the new
No,
film
I
with
love-
Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, bloody hell.
That film would be much less exciting if it ended with a hobnob instead of a katana sword, I tell you. But yeah, I'm going to say...
You only really see the true face of the universe when it's asking for your help.
I don't know why that one played.
By how we
Anyway,
I was going to say that was the most random sample.
that was a random thing. I have no idea. Yes, perhaps because I find Katie Manning to be the true face of the universe. She is the loveliest person in the world. She's interacted with me on Twitter, obviously with Rebecca. She interacts with everybody. She loves her character, and you can tell she's come back for the little, not just the Sarah Jane adventures, but the little sort of promotional things for the, I'm not getting into it, the collection box sets. And yeah, and I love that those 3 seasons. I'm like you, Rebecca. I stand the Pertwee era just in general, but my favorite parts are definitely those 3 seasons. Not that I don't like the Liz Shaw or the Sarah Jane season, but those 3 in the middle are perfection for me. And if you ask me to name my favorite Doctor Who stories, there's gonna be a lot of them that feature Jo Grant. It's gonna be the 3 Doctors, Carnival of Monsters, the Green Death. Yeah, so. And Day of the Daleks. That's the other one, which I said I absolutely love as well. So, suffice to say, Jo Grant, lovely actress, but a character we don't like apparently. So, no, I'm kidding. It's a massive hit from all of us. So we'll move on to number 5. This one.
While we're on this topic, I just want to give a tiny little brief statement. I was doing the game show stuff, and it was going to be originally like a celebrity special. I tried to get some Doctor Who characters in, and Katie was one of the people, and she was actually really interested, but because of her timetable, she had to only just do a video, which she never got around to, but that's besides the point. And her team, her email team, they actually thought I was a legitimate ITV person. So they actually forwarded me on and gave contact details, like completely unprovoked, to like another well-known actor. So I think I've got the phone number of this well-known actor's.
Don't tell anyone who it is.
Yeah, I'm not going to say, but I was just like, that's so surreal to me that I didn't even say, oh, on my TV. I was like, it's like a YouTube Doctor Who edition of The Chase. And they were like, oh yeah, why not come in and let's get this party rolling. Katie can't do it, but this bloke can do it. Here's his number. I thought, holy crap. But yeah, the actor I don't particularly know, but is very well known.
Cool. If you ever bring back any of those Who game shows, I think you have to have Rebecca on, especially if you do anything related to, Doctor Who in general, but especially the Doctor or the modern stuff.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
Rebecca, yeah.
I do have a YouTube channel.
YouTuber special. I'll consider you a YouTuber and I'll invite you on later. We can sort that out. But yeah, that's besides.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, Rebecca TV, if you're curious. She says she doesn't use it, but she's done some pretty hilarious videos. Your review of, I can't remember what it's called now, the book that you had, Adventures in Time or whatever it was. Space Travels. That's it. It was the most hilarious because reviews are normally so boring and stale, and her review of that was just absolutely brilliant. I loved it.
We can't promise the same with this one. I'm sorry.
What was that?
I can't promise the same with us in terms of being funny.
Oh no, we're always we do our best. We've got at least one loyal viewer, so never mind. I shouldn't be so.
You're not sorry.
You're too nice. Bless you. What are you doing on our podcast? You're far too nice and kind. Let's see if that continues, because this is something I don't know your opinion on. This isn't something that I've seen you adore on your Twitter one way or the other. But number 5 on Hit or Miss for this week is share screen. Ooh. The episode Robot of Sherwood.
Oh,
Rebecca, hit or miss?
Again, I feel like I'm being just too overly positive about everything.
It's all
I
right.
do really like the role of Sherwood. I think it's because I'm a bit of a Mark Gatiss fanatic. You know, I love him. And I love his sort of style. But I think it's a really funny episode.
Oh, yeah.
Did Gatiss write this one?
I know
like
that
it.
kind
Yeah,
of
he
threw
did.
me off as well. But I think he may have done. Let me have a quick meander. It is indeed written by Mark Gatiss.
Oh yeah, I always forget that we've discussed like Gatiss stories and stuff so many times, and yet we've
Yeah,
never
that's what I
mentioned
was
that.
calling. I think I always knew he kind of. I was inclined to believe that, but I was just trying to make sure because it is a very non-Mark Gatiss-y kind of story. When I think of Mark Gatiss, I don't think of Robot Sherwood.
Sure, but obviously Rebecca does, so that's
Well, yeah.
cool. But you liked it then,
Yeah,
Rebecca?
it has little Mark Gatissisms in it. I just pick up on those things. Also, I have to say this because I'm a girl and I'm just so stereotypical. But Clara's dress is just in the world. I love it.
It
I
is
should
pretty
do a
fantastic.
cosplay of it.
That red dress is pretty awesome. I'll grant you that. So it's not
Please don't get me
specific
started.
to being a girl. Will, am I going to have to get that meme of the go to horny jail?
Yes. No. It is a nice dress.
Yeah, I think we can just. What kind of Gatisisms do you think are in the episode, Rebecca? Because I can't really think of any, but it's been a while since I've seen it.
It's just his sort of humour, I think.
I think that's probably fair.
See,
Yeah.
I'm a big League of Gentlemen fan. So
okay.
when I say big, I mean big League of Gentlemen fan. I'm obsessed. So I sort of know his style like more than I know myself.
So you're thinking about the likes of the scene in when they're arguing, like Robin and the Doctor are arguing, and Clara's just basically
Yeah.
yeah, awesome. Will, what are your thoughts on Robot of Sherwood?
I completely agree with you, Rebecca. I think it's a very funny episode. As for the threat, I don't think they were too bad. I think they were solid. The actual robots, they were fine. The story itself was fine. Again, I wouldn't say it's anything particularly bad. The only bad element I would say is the ending, where it is a bit, over the top. Well, it's kind of grounded to the point it's over the top to the point it's grounded. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like everyone joining in to use the arrow, and I was like, the spaceship is going off at however many miles an hour, and you're all arguing about a bloody bow and arrow. Just get on with it, shoot the bloody thing. But yeah, that's the only problem I have with the episode. I actually think it's very funny. I think I like Capaldi in it, and I think the scene all the three together in the prison and talking about, and then to a shouting, that's a great moment. And also the Doctor upstaging, who was it, King James or someone?
King John, maybe? I don't know.
That looks like Anthony Ainley.
Yes.
Ben Miller, is that who you're referring to?
Yeah, Ben Miller.
I don't know.
Yeah, and the archery battle between there, that was a fantastic scene. Love it. Yeah. And then he just gets pissed off with everyone and he just whips out his Sonic and it explodes it. That's hilarious.
Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't know that's what you meant by the ending. I thought you meant the part which I do love about if we keep being good, we'll become legends and kind of thing.
Oh, right, no, like the resolution ending.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I'm gonna disappoint you both. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, soft hit, by the way, because I never clarified soft hit.
Sorry. I gathered you were gonna go hit. I'm gonna say miss. It's not the most egregious miss in the world, but for me, it just doesn't work. The fact that it's Capaldi's third episode and he's already been portrayed kind of darker and more sinister, and then you get this random like slapstick comedy. I might have preferred it in a different placement, but it just kind of jarred. The Doctor and This Is My Spoon didn't quite hit me the same way that it might have otherwise. But like I do love the ending and the comparison of the two legends and stuff. But for me, soft miss, I would say. But either way, it's still going to come across as from the podcast as a hit because we have 2 hits and 1 miss. So it would still be classified as a hit. So we're on to number 6 in the hit or miss section. I'm very aware I don't want to go too long because we've got the review to do, but I'll just maybe throw out, let's see, a couple more and we'll see what you think of them. So number 6 is another one that was for our guest today. If I can get the screen shared, I want to see how she reacts when I put up.
You can see the bias here.
I just want to see the reaction to this one. What are we up to? Number 6 is the adipose.
Oh, it's my Jim. It's Jim.
You know what buttons to press.
I've never been accused of that before. Believe me. If you're unsure, by the way, Rebecca on her Twitter, she has a plushie, the plushie adipose toy that she calls Jim the Adipose, and she absolutely loves it. So I just had to feature the adipose and say, Rebecca, why don't you like the adipose? Why do you hate them so darn much?
I hate them. They're just awful. No, I mean, they're just my babies. You know, I'm Miss Foster.
You have a lot of babies.
I know I'm a bit of a baby freak. But yeah, I just love them. Look at them. You can't look that little tiny adipose in the eye and say, I fucking hate you. Oh, sorry. Are you allowed to swear?
Yeah,
yes, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can't, can you? He's just too cute.
He's far too cute. You just went full Jodie Whittaker there, by the way. Something about the way you just said, just look at him. I was like, whoa. The doctor's arrived.
For the review.
But yeah, so no, I knew, if I'm honest, I was a bit biased. I knew what you would say, but I'm suffice to say you're going to say the adipose are a bit of a hit just because of how blooming cute they are. Will, what are your thoughts on the adipose? And you don't have to be positive.
No bias there. They are cute. I do think the episode itself is pretty good. I do think it may be a bit overrated. It's not excellent. But the thing, I think the reveal scenes of the adipose coming out takes a bit too long. I think they prolonged those scenes a bit too long, and I think it's what I think Rose did it much better. How they got straight to the invasion point. About the Autons, this just keeps going and I think it builds up for about 10 minutes longer than the actual climax, and I think that's disappointing massively. However, the actual physical appearance of them is cute, and whilst I think they weren't utilized in the episode fantastically, I do think they are a soft hit. They're a hit. I wouldn't say miss at all.
So we can clarify that you think they're a hit and that you are not a fan of build-up and prefer to go straight to the climax. So I think we've learned something about you from that.
Oh my God, I hate you. Like, when I was saying that, I was like, there's no way I can get myself out of this. I've dug my grave. I have to just say it.
I was getting you back for the little disses you were giving me earlier, but I couldn't resist. It was too tempting.
We know each other too well.
Yeah, I rarely get a chance to be that funny. So, excuse me. When it comes to the adipose, I will say, play. There we go.
Well, yes, tick.
It's a tick. It's a soft hit for me. The fact that they murder 2 people on screen and yet we still just go, oh, look how cute. Because they're just a cool little cute, sweet design. I love the fact that somebody in marketing was clever enough to think, that would make a good stress toy. So of all of the random Doctor Who merchandise, my little brother had the squeezy adipose stress toy. That was always like, whoever thought of that? Absolute genius. I mean, come on. So yeah, I think all 3 of us are going to say the adipose. Yeah, I love Jim.
You better.
I'll be honest, it's the only reason I'm following your Twitter. It's not for you.
Oh, thanks.
I kid, but no, I love. There's something really pure and wholesome about having like cuddly toys that you're a fan of, and I'm quite a fan of them anyway. Perhaps it's because of being a bit neurodivergent that I love cuddly toys and stuff. But Will, who's on the podcast with us, just got me a 13th Doctor plushie, which is my new favorite thing, and it currently goes everywhere with me.
It's a really nice toy. I thought I knew I had to get you in a better mood, so I thought, what can I get you? And there are these things, and I thought this is just a really cute little toy. So I thought he'll like this, and I thought, yeah, let's get it. And I want to buy one for myself because they actually look really cool.
It's fantastic. I mean, it came with an awesome, fantastic hard metal TARDIS coaster as well. But
it's nice.
Yeah, it's surprising. You wouldn't think it looks like cardboard or something in the box, and you open it, it's proper like tin or something. It's really good.
So I thought it would be handy just around the house for like your teas or something like that. But I'm glad it's metal.
I have
I've
tons
never
of coasters.
had a metal one before.
I'm always making a mess, so I've got the Game of Thrones Night's Watch Oath on a coaster. I've got tons of Marvel like Spider-Man and Black Widow coasters and stuff. I've got a Roger Moore James Bond coaster, and yet still I still end up making the messy drink rings that I have to wipe up. Monica from Friends would hate me, but there you go. Bit of an obscure reference. I'll probably make this the last one. This is our 7th on the hit or miss section for today. Apologies, I promise I haven't just been stalking you, Rebecca, but there we go. This is the 7th one for today. It's Rebecca. I had to do it at least once.
I mean, come on.
From Planet of the Daleks.
Well, I think right. It started off as a sort of joke because a tweet where I was like, "Why Rebecca from Planet of the Daleks is amazing," and I was like, "She doesn't put up with Karen's shit, you know." He's awful to her, and then it just became a thing that I was like the biggest Rebecca fan in the world. When she doesn't, the thing is, she doesn't really have much of a character, but she's a legend anyway. She's just a side character, but I love her, you know. I got a T-shirt with her on. It says somewhere on this planet 1,000 out. Yeah, my friend designed it for me.
Oh wow, awesome! I must have missed that on your Twitter. Awesome. Oh man, talk about obscure references, but that's fantastic. Awesome. Will, so I'm obviously sorry, Rebecca, you're going to say a hit for your namesake.
Well, yeah. Hit, obviously.
I'm getting the feeling you're thinking soft hit because you may think the joke's got a bit carried away, but yeah.
Well, I guess she has sort of the same name as me, so she has to be a hit.
I do love that when science fiction writers are like, you know what, we have to come up with a really weird alien sounding name, and then you just know that Terry Nation like had a friend or a friend's wife or something called Rebecca and was like,
oh, it was his
Rebecca.
daughter. It was his daughter.
Was it?
Rebecca.
I should have know the story.
That was her, like the girlfriend or something like that. His own daughter.
But it's just the fact that it's such a normal sounding name. It's like it always amuses me that Game of Thrones is like they've got really exotic sounding names for some of the people, and then you've got like Ned and John.
Don't disrespect Andrews.
They're good characters, but it's just like I was saying on Twitter actually today. I'll slight divergence, but I was saying how because somebody pointed out that they don't like the idea that all Time Lords must have really long exotic names and it's only one or two. And I said that the Time Lords are the most varied species because you could technically have a conversation which was, "Hello there, my name is Romana Vortralunda. Oh hi, I'm Omega. Oh hello, I'm Susan." It doesn't. What? Pick a lane, Time Lords. Jeez. But anyway, so the character of Rebecca, Will, I'm not sure how familiar you are with her or with Planet of the Daleks. What do you reckon?
Planet of the Daleks is fine. I wouldn't. Excuse me. I'm still have the remnants of the biscuit in my throat. It's not very nice. It's a planet, should I say? It's a good story, solid story. It's not bad, not great. As for the character, she's fine. So, can I be out of the way and say soft miss?
You can, yeah. I mean, I did it for.
I'm sorry. Yeah, miss. Yeah.
You didn't give the reasons why, though. Are you scared to do it in front of our own Rebecca?
I think she's even said she doesn't have much of a character. I don't think she was the best in the story.
Okay.
There were other supporting characters that I think were a bit better than her.
Oh, name one. Come on, name any of the other thoughts.
I'm going to pass on that.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, well, then I'll chime in and give my thoughts just before we head to the review and say for the last thing on the section.
Well, yes. Tick.
I like Rebecca. I'm not just saying that because of you, Rebecca. I actually, from Planet of the Daleks, she's one of my favorite parts. I think she's quite a good like feminist prototype because she really does take none of the men's like crap. And you could, from that era in particular, especially if you watch some of the early 60s and 70s stuff, there's not a lot of characters like that who are women, and I'm all for that. So I think that's great. And yeah, just on the subject of Planet of the Daleks, as much as I said it was just fine, it does have one of my favorite cliffhangers when they sort of spray paint the thing and shows the invisible Dalek. Is fantastic. I love that. Nice tense moment. So
Yeah.
so yeah, that's going to be 2 hits and 1 miss. So we can safely say that Rebecca is a hit. So there you go, Rebecca. You can still keep your name with pride. Right. So that'll conclude the hit or miss section. So we're going to move on to our review for this week. And as you probably know by now, the review for this week is the episode Kerblam. Rebecca, just give us your best Geordie voice. It's the Kerblam Man. Woo! I'm so sorry for making you perform that, but I just couldn't resist. So again, we're reviewing the Jodie Whittaker episode Kerblam from series 11, of course. Excuse me. The way we do, we normally start off with a brief sort of log line or thoughts that we had before rewatching the episode. I don't know if you've done that, Rebecca, or if you've just got notes. How have you laid it out?
Oh yeah, I've just got notes. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's no problem.
I'm not a traitor, am I?
No, not at all. No, we never really. It's just something we do, to be honest. It's just to get us rolling into the thing. So, but I'm guessing you have a little brief log line, Will, or you might have Andy's even.
It's very brief.
That it always is. Yeah.
I had literally no time to prepare, and literally 5 minutes ago, I realized, crap, I do not have a log line. So I did copy and paste Andrew's log line, but I'll say mine first.
Okay.
Good. And now for Andrew's line.
So when you said brief, you meant one word.
Yes. It's good.
I love that. Rebecca's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I'm really sorry. And you're like, good. That'll do.
Andrew's logline, the first episode of the Chibnall era that made me think, yes, this is Doctor Who after it was over. Excuse me. An intriguing mystery with some genuinely great. I'm not green cheese. Great. Oh, now I forgot where the bloody line is. Oh, this is a mess. An intriguing mystery with some genuinely great twists. Kerblam is arguably one of the only, if not the only, great episodes in an otherwise lackluster series.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't think many. Do you say you disagree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Series 11 strong, but I wouldn't say it's like possibly the only good Series 11. But carry on.
He did say one of the only great episodes, which isn't far off. My most rewatched Whittaker episode, and that's it. So yeah, sorry Andrew for butchering that logline. I promise I won't be as bad for the rest of it.
That's fine. I think we get the picture that Andy kind of pretty much likes it. So yeah, all I really said was that it's a stronger entry in what's considered a weaker season. There's cheesy moments that stick in my memory with an ending that was controversial. And I remembered having a good time enjoying the acting and like Andy feeling like I was just watching a solid Doctor Who. But that was before I went back and rewatched and started making notes. So that was just my initial thoughts. So without further ado, I'll move us into the actual episode and say that we've discussed this. We've discussed this before, but I'm not a fan of the lack of any sort of cold open in the Jodie Whittaker era for most of it anyway. I just don't like straight into the title sequence. We've discussed that already, Will. But Rebecca, are you a fan of that, or would you rather have a little bit before the credits?
You know what? I really like it. I think it's quite with this particular title sequence. It really gets me going. It's proper intense, isn't it? Intense is not the word, but
yeah,
it's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. I love the actual title sequence itself. I missed the kind
of. I think the actual quality of the title sequence makes up for anything that we would have otherwise got if there were cold opens. And I think when I was watching on BBC One on the day live as it premiered, I always really liked the title sequence. And whilst going back to rewatch old ones, I do like the cold opens. But you must remember, this wasn't in Classic Who either. So Chibnall just taking the decision, but I did like the charm, and it did set up the stakes before the title sequence with the cold opens, and I think some of them worked really well. I know my Moffat bias might be coming out here, but Moffat did the setting the stakes before the title sequence, and then setting the future when an alternative present, and then after the title sequence, we go back to the Doctor's perspective and the companion's perspective, and then they work their way to that moment that we see in the pre-title sequence.
That's what I mean. I think it would have helped the pacing and stuff of this episode because I mean, the pre-credits was always it was very rarely the Doctor.
I think what would have been really good is if they showed one of the people going missing. Like
I was just going to say the same. Yeah,
I think that would have been a really good code. It would not code.
Yeah, just introduce us to Kerblam and then show us that it's Mr. Robot, and then anyway,
that would be proper Russell style, wouldn't it?
It would really, wouldn't it? Yeah, but I like that. I'm kind of for that. But anyway, so we move straight into the after the credits. We move straight into the action, and boy, it starts with action straight away. The time vortex and the TARDIS rushing through it with the fast pace, the high energy, which I think looks incredible. The vortex effects and stuff, they're the same as the credits, obviously, but I think they look amazing. And yeah, they say they're running away from something, and we're barely into the episode before we get the Kerblam man, as Jodie would say. So,
the Kerblam man.
Indeed. He beams in with a package, and yeah, what I had to say here was that I love Jodie Whittaker so much. I know that I've made no secret of that, and it's a bias, but I think little things like the excited way that she leaps when she sees the Kerblam robot has entered, or the ecstatic, it's the Kerblam man, or the little wry smile and the scrunched nose, and the fact that she's like, oh, it's a Fez, is it still me, kind of thing. I was just immediately like, you know what? If nothing else comes from this episode, my love for Jodie it's quite obvious. So yeah. What do you guys think of the opening scene with the Kerblam man teleporting in and Jodie getting excited? Rebecca, what do you reckon?
Oh, I like it. Yeah. And I really like the design of the Kerblam man too. Really cute. I keep saying cute. I keep saying the words cute and sexy for some reason today. But
well, at least you didn't call the Kerblam man sexy.
Yeah, not really my type. But I think Graham has some really great lines as well. I think like, oh, you're just saying words now.
Yeah, it is something like, oh, you're just making noises. That's not even a word, something like that. Yeah,
that's it.
I think I've actually got the line. He says, "You're just making sounds now." I thought that was a great little line.
Yeah.
I did say about the scene. Of course, it's referencing the Smith era, and she says,
of course, yeah. "So you're a fan?"
No, what did she say? No, I made a point that Whittaker. I said Whittaker and Walsh delivered their lines very well, and the characters are realistically positioned and not in a straight line for once, like they were in Series 11 and to an extent Series 12 as well.
Yeah,
like direction-wise, I think that was. You cannot deny, Michael, that they always stand in a straight line.
I've never really noticed. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but it's never something that registers.
Stand in a line quite a lot.
They do.
It's like someone got a ruler and they're like, stand along this.
It's like two people standing in front and then one person standing slightly behind, and it's usually Ryan. And yeah, they're always scattered in this episode, and I think that it was a nice introduction scene. However, considering what we did find out later in the episode, how come Ryan didn't explode when he pops the bubble wrap?
Because it hasn't, it hasn't been packaged yet, has it? That's the whole kind of. Anyway.
No, the point is revealed. He's already packed about however many thousand.
Oh, because those ones haven't gone out yet. That's the whole point. That he was waiting to teleport them all together to Kandoka. So
it was just a question I noticed when I was rewatching it.
And they do point out that in a way that kind of mirrors real life, HoM, this is a delivery that was ordered ages ago. It's like 2 regenerations back, and she's only just receiving it. Probably still earlier than I'm going to get my bloody Season 8 box set, but never mind.
When are you off to Trenzalo?
What was that, sorry?
When are you off to Trenzalo?
Oh, bless. I'm not going there. I'm going the long way around. I'm going to go marry good Queen Bess or something. But I mean, the bubble wrap is kind of nice because it sets it up for later, so you do get that hint.
Yeah.
Ryan's dialogue is kind of good in terms of like setting up. It might be somebody messing around or whatever, but oh my word, Tosin Cole is a bad actor sometimes. Still, the delivery just great.
He was even that bad in this episode. I think he has definitely.
I do have to agree with that.
Yeah, he's not bad in one of the scenes later that I'll get to, but it's just like he's so stilted when he reads his lines. And in the middle of this scene, when Bradley Walsh is kind of doing his, oh, you're just being daft thing, And then, as I said, like Yaz, for all that constantly people keep shitting on the fact that Yaz doesn't have any character, it's her that's really caring and insistent, and like it could be somebody that's in trouble. You know, we have to go and help them. And I was like, you know, this is people just don't pay attention sometimes. I think is perhaps the problem, because it's little moments like that that build up character for me. So I liked it. Kind of a Yaz fan as well, if you hadn't guessed, Becca.
I never would have told that. Jesus.
We head straight to the Kandok.
I think Yaz is really good in this episode.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely. There's a few moments later, absolutely, where I'd say the same thing. And like I said, the fact that she's always the one that's like caring and actually giving a damn about the people, whereas Ryan's very much like mucking about and I don't want to be at work.
If on the materializations scene on Kandoko, I think you said I did say the sky replacement effect is not great. You could consider it CGI, since I suppose it is, but it's not too impressive in my opinion compared to other stories such as Journey's End. I think Planets in the Sky, they did that much more well than this did. And I think, yes, it's pretty, but I wish there was a bit of, you know, I know there's a criticism of me in other episodes, but I wish there was a bit of flair just to make it a bit multi-layered, as just opposed to a post-production little slapped on the background. I think it was just, they didn't add layers to it, and that's my point. They didn't add filters to it or anything like that. It just looked like a picture.
Well, I'll stick to what I had said and say that I didn't agree. I thought the exterior shots were stunning. I thought it looked really good, to me anyway, but maybe I don't have quite the eye for visual effects, but I thought it was really awesome. And it was the same when they got inside the actual sets, the massive sprawling set of Kerblam and all of the decorations. Oh, Will, is that Chris Chibnall? Is he complaining to you about how the special effects were perfectly fine? I'll carry on and see if Will rejoins us.
Yeah, so the phone was just ringing. I had to pick up, and it was Chris Chibnall, and he said, "You asshole."
Do you have any idea how much that cost? But anyway.
No, the thing is, I saw Premiere Pro tutorials about how to do sky replacements, and they were using such impressive pictures to show that tutorial. And then I saw this just like a couple of weeks after, and I think they could have done a bit better job, but that's a digression about something very small. So
yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just I didn't notice it, and I thought the actual set and the big building they were at and everything looked good. And I say when they got inside, the way that it was dressed to look Kerblam, and they had the actual cases of old stuff and the posters and everything, it was a very good sort of dressed set, I thought. And then we get introduced to our first guest star, which is Haley from Corrie, Julie Hesmondel playing Judy, the head of people. And we get the scene that it kind of bugs me about modern.
I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Oh, I don't know.
So thank you.
I was guessing.
It's
I'm not going to do it again. I'm just going to refer to her as the character name of Judy. Something that bugs me and doesn't about the modern Who era, that they kind of use these sly shortcuts to avoid having to have 2 episodes of how do they break in and stuff. So she does the thing with like the sonic screwdriver and the psychic paper. Which, you know, so that they say you've been sent by the First Lady, and now you are on the system after all, and everything, which I guess gets you straight to the action, but it does seem kind of cheap at times. I know a lot of the old companions have complained about the sonic screwdriver's too convenient nowadays, but anyway, it gets us to the story, so that's hopefully fine. And then we meet Lee Mack. So this moment is specifically for Dimensions in Jen on Twitter. Shout out, because I know she's a huge Lee Mack, and
she's lovely, isn't she?
She's lovely. I just love how much she loves the most random things, and I said like not going out and Lee Mack and Tim Vine. But she must have loved this episode, seeing Lee Mack in it. So yeah, this one's for her. I think he's mostly good in the episode. His delivery when he first appears here is very sitcom. It's very much not going out, but it is a great line when he's morning Les, and the teammate is like, my name is not Les, but I acknowledge your amusing co-worker banter. It's good. Lee's delivery isn't the best.
I'll run through this. Andrew said, I love the way the episode takes the time to establish its main characters and its setting in a way that feels natural, as opposed to just having 13 doing an exposition dump or having characters shoved on screen and introduced like an interview. And Julie,
really weird, because I said it was kind of cheap that they had the shortcuts, so he thinks the opposite. So it's an interesting.
I'd also agree with Andrew here, and and introduced like an interview, and then I said the whole sequence where the doctor herself and the fam is brilliant, from the psychic paper with the doctor scanning the iPad behind it with her screwdriver to the we don't like to talk about a sequence is all good. And then I'm literally up to you. Like, we get introduced to Dan's character. The Kerblam men's replies are spoken nicely, but very sinisterly too. It just kept me on the edge a bit. And they were very well designed, very well voice acted, and are solid antagonists. And that's where we are.
Yeah, I think we were basically at the point where Rebecca was agreeing with me that Lee Mack is great for most of the episode, but his delivery, specifically of when he says, it's a really good line about morning Les and the robot, I'm not Les, blah blah blah, and then but there's something about the way he delivers the line, so much for machine learning, which just comes across as like sitcom punchline for me, and I'm like, oof, that's a little bit, yikes.
I agree. That's the only line where I think he was a bit meh, but I think overall he's a very good character.
Yeah. And I did also give a shout out to Dimensions in Jen, the biggest Lee Mack fan. So,
cool.
I think it's amusing and kind of cool that the Doctor's like no robophobia. Some of my best friends are robots. It's a cool little touch.
That is quite strange, though, isn't it? That's something that stuck out to me on rewatch. I don't know. I don't really know what to think about it.
I wish someone else was here just to, that are more well informed about the issues. They can say if it was offensive. But personally, it also stuck out for me as a bit weird. But also, the line itself is fine. I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't particularly love it. It stuck out to me as weird. I wish Andrew or someone was here just to give their sixth sense about it. But I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't mind it because I think it sets up to not be as prejudiced against the robots, even though they look quite sinister. And it ultimately, that's what it's about. But regardless, the next scene I didn't quite get. I didn't think you needed it, which was the kind of the medical and the physical. And it's like, oh, you have 2 hearts. They're a gift from the First Lady. You have a great healthcare plan. And I just thought, why is that scene there? It just seems.
I like that scene, but the one that stands out for me in that whole sequence, you may agree. I said I think it's nice for the writer to incorporate problems in today's world, namely the case of robots taking over human jobs.
Oh yeah, completely.
A topic covered excellently in the short series Years and Years by Russell T Davies, and the 10% human because of all that dinner on the table speech about going to the shop and all the things taking over and the human interaction. That whole sequence is amazing, but that's a digression. But yeah, Years and Years, definitely watch it if you haven't. And the 10% human workforce statement was eerily written and delivered by Julie, who I agree with Andrew here, was very good. I think the fact that they incorporated that was a brilliant foreseeing. And I know the connections with Amazon people made, and I kind of understand that, but I've never
Amazon. I said more or less the same thing. Like I said, I think this is an example of good exposition, because initially you find out that we need to find someone that needs help, and there's 10,000 people here, which sounds like it's a needle in a haystack, and then you get the exposition of no, that's 10% people compared to the overall workforce. So that's still not great, and they have guidelines and quotas to meet, which is a not very subtle way of sort of that side of business examining that and talking about it. But the key thing is when Yaz asks about morale, and they say that people are just grateful to have a job, which hits home very much, especially at the moment. And then the fact that again, not subtle, but it kind of works for me, is when they're putting the group loops on them, and Graham asks if they're under house arrest. And gets told to check their productivity, which is horrible. That's the kind of thing that does happen, unfortunately. And I'm just kind of like, ugh, memories of crap jobs.
Don't even come at me at that. I've literally applied for about 10 jobs this week. Don't get me started on not having a job, please. Don't remind me that I'm unemployed.
Was it at Kerblam, Will, that you applied?
To be fair, it was Amazon, but I'm under 18. I'm like 3 or 4 months away, so I have to be 18. And I think, God damn it, all these jobs want 18-year-olds. So yeah, it probably is Kerblam. Screw them. Screw Kerblam.
Fair enough. So then we get to the discussion that Kandok has a human colony, which I thought was a good explanation for why they all look like people. The CGI of the warehouse interior I did think was bad. Will, I actually agree with you for once on that one. I think that it was very obviously not like obviously they didn't have a massive, big, sprawling warehouse, but it seemed to me quite obvious that it was like. Oh,
you're on about the scene where they look over the barrier?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I don't disagree there at all. I said the CGI of them looking over the barrier and seeing the conveyor belts. I don't think that's a good example for the effects team to have like on a show reel, but it definitely works in disorientating, whether purposefully or not. Like it could be bad disorientating if they didn't intend it. But it did disorient me in terms of showing the sheer size of the place. I think it was very big, but the CGI wasn't the best.
Yeah, exactly, which kind of takes you out of it. But yeah. So did you have any thoughts up to now, Rebecca? I'm aware we're talking a lot and not really coming to you. So.
I don't know. Do I have thoughts? I agree about the warehousing. Maybe it wasn't the best, but I'm not as educated on those things, like visual effects and everything. So
we're media students, so maybe Mike less so than me because he was about 3 years ago. Sorry, Mike.
How dare you? I mean, my course was more film theory than like how well you practically do it. But yeah. So.
Yeah. But I know we are being a bit critical, so I do want to put it back to a positive that came just before this scene. I said the common power cuts were very scary and well plotted. So the exposition scenes, like in the previous scene about all the exposition, I think you mentioned it, it had some sort of payoff come the end, and it linked each scene together well as it transitioned.
Yeah,
and that comes into the well plotted. It's like it happens right at the right moment. If there was another paragraph of exposition where that power cut was, it could get very, very boring, very easy. But these power cuts were well plotted and they were actually well executed as well, because I think they were very scary, and also the sound effects they incorporated, they were very, very sci-fi-esque, and I loved it.
Okay, I'll take your lead and say that.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Rebecca. No, go ahead.
I think with the Chibnall era, sometimes the exposition can be quite in your face, but with this, I think it was more like classic exposition.
I mean, like that. No, agreed.
Get the story going. Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah. I was less enthusiastic with that part of things, because just leading off what you're saying with that, I thought that it was weird how the pace was so frantic and like quick to get us to Kerblam, and then they spent longer on like the exposition and the orientation and everything than. I know it was all important later in its way, but it just seemed odd. And similarly, I thought Julie H, shall we call it, is great throughout the episode. But there's one moment during that orientation when she says like, "My dad used to say people power. He was kind of weird, my dad." And I was like, that delivery's a little odd.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be. It's meant to be a little bit cringe because she says "girl power" or something like that. She does a really what did she say? It was like the
people power. I think.
What was it?
Like we need to be 10%. So my dad used to always say people power, and
people
I think
power. Okay,
it's more that she's socially awkward because there's that many machines. So she even says like,
I think
she refers to them as organics and rather than people and stuff like that. But it's just a couple of things, because there's that moment, and then there's when she talks about don't go on the conveyor belt and gets all serious, and I'm like, is that satire or is it a joke? I wasn't quite sure about that.
Yeah, I think the delivery was also weird on that, because it's like she just drops her face a bit, and then it's like, okay, according to you, this is an adult and it's not the doctor, so why would you need to elaborate on that? But I did think, I did make the note that I said, the physical exchange, the non-spoken exchange between the doctor and Graham, when Graham looks at the doctor afterwards, when she's told she can't ride on the conveyor belt, is great. It's like, yeah, I love that little nod that he does. But yeah, it did feel a bit weird. But the actual nod, for God's sake.
You go get that, Will, and I'll get it.
Again, he's coming for you.
No, he's calling to apologise because Will's been positive.
Every bloody time I'm a little bit negative. Boom! Phone rings.
Anyway, but yeah, so because you're being positive, I will say there's a positive here that I liked, which is as much as I complained about some of the CGI and stuff earlier, the direction when they are going through the orientation, and there's a really cool scene where the camera goes through those like thick plastic strips on the conveyor belt, and the camera goes through there to take you to the next area and the next scene.
I can't remember that bit.
It's such a cool little flourish, yeah. It's such a weird touch and a cool little flourish that I really liked. Good visual kind of directing to show you the area. But yeah, so we carry on into the next scene where we meet Kira Arlo. It is kind of weird how we meet her as if we've always known her. It's kind of, there's no real introduction scene, but I guess that's kind of how it happens if you're just chucked into work with somebody.
To be fair, I would disagree with that because we did get a good 5 minutes just about her and her work life and how she was getting into the job in the first place. So
oh yeah, eventually, but I just mean the way that they were talking to her when we meet her. There's no like,
right.
"Oh, hi, I'm Kira." They just start talking to each other, and I'm like, that's kind of socially like really weird. Like, obviously, I've started new jobs and stuff, and you don't just tend to talk at somebody. You would be like, "Oh, hi, it's my first day. I'm the doctor. I'm Ryan. Oh, hi, I'm Kira." Rather than just talking at them, and then
like Kira does sort of tell the Doctor and Ryan her life story. I think that's a bit weird.
It does go on for a bit too long. But,
yeah, I don't like that scene. That whole thing about I've never received a gift. It's so cheesy and just kind of like, oh, is that the best character you can give this person?
Yeah.
You know.
Just to think about one scene, because we did skip over like a transition scene between the two. I did say the Doctor switching band colors was a nice little segment, and it all leads up to the not a word line from Brothers. I thought that was a really nice bit of comedy, and I love that bit.
You get stuck being the janitor.
Yeah.
Really
and I said Claudia Jessie, who is the person who plays Kira. Yeah. I said person like so bad. I said like the actress who played her. She delivered a good performance. She's one of the most positive characters I've ever seen. And she doesn't go into the realm ever of overdoing it. I think she was solid throughout. I never delved into the bad, even if it was cringy, some cringy scenes here and there, but I think they were played for the cringiness. And we'll get to there.
She does the best possible with some of the worst dialogue, and yeah, she's fantastic, and you do like her, so that you feel it, you know, later on when what happens goes down. But yeah, I do
like all the side characters, the supporting in this episode. I think they're some of the best of the Whittaker era.
110%. Yeah, I made it no again. I think what do you call it? Jarvo, the bloke. I think he was fleshed out the best. Jarvis Lee, yeah, that's it. I don't think it was fleshed out much, but I think the red herrings that they did put his character along, they were nice. But again, we'll get to there. And I know we're not quite there yet, but Andrew did say it was nice to see Ryan's dyspraxia brought up again, and after it was never mentioned for half of the series beforehand.
Yeah, see, I was really, really critical here, but I thought Torsen was terrible in this scene when the Doctor and Kira, so Claudia and Jodie are talking, and it's really it's very naturalistic and very cool, even with bad dialogue. And then you cut to Torsen, and he's like, "Yeah, I've had jobs like this. I always have trouble being coordinated, so I started off a bit slow."
I didn't think that was even bad. I think the worst moment Torsen ever gets is later on in the episode where he says, "Hey, Doctor, be careful." I think that's that's one of the worst lines of dialogue I've ever heard in my life.
It always just seems like he's reading the script for the first time. But anyway, that's
he does. It's like someone has the script on like a board.
I said this when it came out, and it got so much heat. Everyone was like, "No, it doesn't." And I was like, "Yes, it clearly does." And in retrospect, I'm glad you two agree with me. But it's just like, I think, especially with Brothers in one of the next scenes, he also does the same where he's talking about the schematics and he wants like the map. I think it is so emotionless, and I think Brothers wasn't even trying in that particular.
I don't agree. I like that scene. I think that works well. It shows how clever he is, and he's able to. But anyway, we'll get there because I have issues with that scene in a different way. But anyway,
it's very wordy.
Yeah. But anyway, we get mention about people power protests and real people needing real jobs, and the line "work gives us purpose," which again brings the satirical elements very forward and in your face. I do love that, as much as I'm not a fan of Kira's like "I only ever got one present" sob story kind of writing. I do love that the Doctor's being nice and sweet to her, and I find that very in character.
Andrew did say the same. He said he loves Jodie's delivery of the line, "You have a great approach to life, Kira."
Yes, and then her response, which is like, nobody's ever really said anything like that, and you genuinely feel like they're not reading the script. It's like, oh, nobody's ever been that nice to me, kind of thing. We go to Lee, Mac, and Yaz, and talking about how they're constant random monitoring. There's no privacy, and asks if Yaz is from the Union because you just tend to do as you're told. And it's a nice sort of jarring side to that, which is that he's the literal poster boy for this thing that he's described in such kind of fascist terms. Which is like, wow, it's very critical of that work life, which I can't disagree with. So, and then, the obvious, what could have been an example of the same kind of thing as Kira and being cheesy comes off really well because he acts it quite well, which is sending, I sent a poster to my little 6-year-old. I'm doing this so she doesn't have to have such a rubbish job, just trying to give her a better life. And again, not subtle, but talking about how technology stole our jobs while we all looked at our phones. You know, which is a key line, I think, for the themes of the episode.
Again, the writer did a really good job
Yeah.
at incorporating all of that.
Yeah, and I do love how passive
I
aggressive
really like
the team. Sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
It's a really good scene, actually. It's one of my favourites. Especially, I think Yaz needs more scenes like this. Mandip is such a...
Oh, I
I
agree.
think just sometimes she isn't given real, you know? Whereas she really
Yeah,
worked
I mean,
well with Lima.
Yeah, it's all right for me to say, oh, it's there if you go looking for it, but really you shouldn't have to. I guess it's kind of your point, and I would agree. There's not enough of those scenes, and they don't make enough of them.
But as for good acting, can we just praise Jodie Whittaker for the scene where she confronts Java Slade? Just in the scene before that we did skip over. I did say
we haven't got there yet, but I have got that scene. So because it does move about in that kind of weirdly frenetic way, all the scenes, they're not linear in that. Well, they are linear, but they're interrupting one bit of action with another because you're going to all these areas. But yeah, the scene that happens first is, like I said, which is Yaz discussing Dan's family and everything, and him saying where, you know, technology nicked our jobs. And again, a great bit of teammate dialogue, which is great conversation, guys, but unnecessary talking can lead to efficiency reductions. Why not pick up the pace a little? To which Dan says, sure thing, Basil. And then he was a pole dancer till his hips gave out. And then I like you, Yaz, you laugh at my jokes. But that was actually, again, that delivery really worked. That wasn't like sitcom-y. But yeah, then they get the idea that they have to go to the 999s for an antique lamp, and Dan says, you're not going there, barely anything down anymore. The last person to search down there got the sack and we never saw them again, and I'm not having it happen to you on your first day. Great character stuff for Dan and Yaz, as you've all agreed, basically. So yeah.
I think we are at the point. I do have some notes from myself and also Andrew, because this is the point where Andrew's notes really come into play. I did say it did take a while to get to the point of who or what sent the help me message. We spent an entire quarter of the episode just going room to room establishing things, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I felt very relieved when we eventually got to the point about the message. And then Andrew said, nice editing decision to cut Yaz and Dan having the same conversation as 13, Ryan and Kira. Cuts down any unnecessary dialogue and shows Yaz having the same intuition as 13, and I completely agree with him. I said, again, that was well plotted, well written. Then Andrew said, great shot of the Kerblam man looking through the boxes. And he also said the lighting is pretty amazing in this episode.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, so I'll do the same. I kind of, the reason I say this is because this scene I adore. It's one of my favorite scenes in the episode or in Doctor Who because it speaks to my soul about crap management. The power goes off and then Slade says it's just a glitch. Come on, Kira, re-engage brain if you can find it. Ryan says, hey, don't talk to her like that. In that very,
that wasn't a good line.
Kira saying it's okay and the Doctor saying it's not. Who are you? I'm the Doctor. I'm new. I'm Java Slade, your boss, warehouse executive. Well, you've got the clipboard for it. Be nicer to Kira, please. And then the best bit, how would you like a warning for insubordination? I'd love one. I could add it to my collection. I adore that line. That's so Doctor.
Moment, isn't it?
Yeah. And then just the speech, which again hits my soul, which is gentle people skills advice for you, Mr. Slade. Respect goes both ways. The best managers, the really good ones, value their staff and know instinctively if someone's in trouble or is asking for help. Now, how good a manager are you? Do you know anyone who needs help?
The thing is that it's such a Doctor Who moment, as you said, Rebecca, because I can just picture any of the Doctors saying the same thing. So it is definitely in line with the character.
100%.
I can imagine Tom Baker saying it or something. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I was thinking more like
this is so random, but you know the manager guy, don't you think he looks a bit like Henry Van Staten?
Yes.
Dalek.
Oh, that's a little bit. He doesn't have the tash though, does he? Yeah, also weird, yeah. Anyway, we get the Lee Mack kind of death scene with the scary robot, very standard, kind of effective Doctor Who jump scare. Yaz finding the daughter's locker and seeing the robot there. I thought the music was really good in this scene, trying to be kind of sinister.
Yes.
Yaz's escape through the door is...
music in this episode.
Yes, I agree. Awesome.
Andrew did say something about this. He said, I can know the score is nice and atmospheric, if a little bit understated. And he said it works well. And I think it does work very well. There is one moment later in the episode that we'll get to where I think the music is a bit over mixed. I think that's to do with sound editing rather than the actual composer. However, I do think the music in this episode was fantastic. I'd agree with all three of you there.
Awesome. Then obviously we get the scene you talked about, which you didn't love, about the exposition from Charlie to Graham. I did like the fact that they point out, even though everything's automated, there's still an idiot boss who checks on your cleaning, which again, very true to life. Obviously the power cuts lead to an emergency break being called, and they all convene, which I've said was outside, but on rewatching, it's not. It's a hologram room that looks like an outdoor part, which they call the HoM room.
I always thought it was outside.
Yeah, so did I. You're saying that's automated? What the hell?
Yeah, it's
that was outside.
It's like the equivalent of like one of the Star Trek holodecks, because the third time I watched the story, it does mention some point in the exposition that you can meet in HoM room, and that's where they say to go when the power cuts, and that's with what looks like the outside kind of trees and flora area. And I was like, oh, it's a hologram room. Okay, fair enough. Because obviously the moon itself that they're on wouldn't be that nice.
I'm halfway through rewatching the arc, so I can definitely see the comparison between the two.
Yeah, I like that episode.
Episode one hasn't started well. It's decent, but yeah, that's for another day.
Yeah, definitely. I love the direction when they get to the office and how they make the manager's office look long and imposing as the doctor and the gang investigate. You get a lot of the Dutch angles of the doctor while we're supposed to be kind of off kilter and a little bit nervous. At first, I wasn't sure about Jodie's acting during her kind of rage against the bosses, but then that was the entire point, because as she leaves, she's like, "Oh, how was that? Was I all right?" And then they tell her she's
that was a great line.
Yeah,
I think Jodie was good for everything, except maybe the final not the 5 minutes around the resolution.
The doctor's very not liking the bullies, and then mentions the unicorn and the wasp, which is nice continuity. The next scene is the one I have real issues with, because it's Graham and Charlie talking, and Charlie talking about like his feelings for Kira and stuff. And there's something really weird and creepy about the line, "Have you smelled her?" Which I was like, we should have known he was the creepy bad guy from that. Who does that?
Like in A Good Man Goes to War.
I'd probably get like a restraining order.
What about if you were Karen Gillan in A Good Man Goes to War and the doctor does it when he's hugging you?
Oh, no.
Oh, you're not a fan of that scene in A Good Man Goes to War when the doctor sniffs Amy?
No.
Oh, wow.
I can't even remember that. Well, I'll be getting a restraining order against the 11th Doctor too.
Well, judging from some of the other lines and that moment in
Clara, yeah. Oh, jeez. Andrew did say no one questions the cleaner is a great foreshadowing line.
Yes. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
And about the cleaner stuff, I do think Brados wasn't particularly trying, less so in this scene. Actually, no, I think I've actually said that. But the whole dropped lunch scene, I think that's around the same time. I'm sure it's meant to. I'm sure it's meant to be cringy, but it is cringy, and I don't think it's that good a scene. But again, I don't think it's acted particularly well either. However, the little sarcastic spat between Graham and Brian was nice, and I do find that a little bit funny.
Yeah, I just want to put out a quick PSA and say, gentlemen, I don't want to speak for the ladies, but maybe just don't go around sniffing them. And the line, "Oh, you smell so good," or "Have you smell?" Not as romantic as you might think it is. Just maybe ease off on that.
It just came off as a creep. I was like, "What the hell is he doing?"
It's never good. Come on, man.
Have you sniffed her? And then Brady Sword just drops.
I love that his reaction is exactly correct as well. When
I don't think I have.
No, as a matter of fact, I haven't. You weirdo. So yeah, but we have the clever scene of him, like that's how he gets the diagrams and everything. So it's all good. Great detective work again by Yaz and Ryan. And it's kind of a good shock catch when Judy catches them in there. We get a lot of the exposition about, that there's blackouts happening and why is the robot still active. Great lighting in this scene, just like Andy was mentioning. And the robot attacking Charlie, which I didn't understand at first. But again, you have to kind of go back and realize what's going on. that the system's kind of rebelling against him. But again, that's a little bit ahead of where we are.
With the scene, I did say the doctor deducting the situation is brilliant. I think the whole scene was excellent, and Jodie performed very well. The whole "did I get that right" line, I think that may be earlier or maybe in this scene.
It was, but yeah.
But I think that was also very good, and very 11th hour-esque when the doctor says, "Who the man?" and then he says, "Oh, I'm never doing that again." Fine, it's like very similar to that.
Yeah,
and of course a reference to Unicorn and the Wasp. However, the scene after that, so this scene now, the doctor explaining herself stumbling in the office and the drawer opening starts well, but becomes over the top when it just keeps going and going like, oh, the drawer opened and then it all fell out. And I thought, okay, just say you stumbled in. But yeah, it was a nice scene overall. And Andrew did say, if they just had a complete power drain, how is Judy using that computer?
She doesn't have a computer. That's the point, isn't it?
The iPad.
Oh, I don't know. I liked the thing which I didn't pick up on, which is that they wonder why Slade is suspiciously using pen and paper and stuff, and it's because he says he can't trust the system. But yeah, I guess. Well, how is there one robot still functioning? I guess the system is very specific in what it has closed down.
True. And he did say again, the reveal of the Kerblam man being active during the power drain felt very Moffat-esque, similar to the girl in the fireplace with the ticking despite the broken clock.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the Heavenly Hosts from Voyage of the Damned have that as well.
It's nice that every companion gets something to do in this episode. That's what Andrew said.
Okay, fair enough. I like that when the Kerblam man or the teammate, whatever it is, attacks, Judy rips its head off, which seems kind of weird, and then comes in later on because she's told to do it again at the end, which is a nice little bit of setup that you might miss. It's kind of cool talking about can't trust the system, but that Judy genuinely does seem to care, so that you're immediately like, oh, well, she obviously isn't sinister or whatever. I like that Judy explains she's a good person, but she's still kind of negligent, complaining about there's too many people to keep an eye on them all, but you're the head of people, so like, do your job, love. So the fact that they need the system 1.0 is a good touch because it gives us Twirly. Twirly must be a character that you love, Rebecca, surely.
Oh yeah, Twirly's another of my children.
A robot child as well. Yeah, he's very retro cool, but
yeah, I'm just everyone.
Briefly during this scene, we get Kiera being approached by the robots, and obviously we know it's sinister. We hear the music, and you've won Employee of the Day. I didn't know there was such a thing. But yeah, that's just a bit of exposition. Then Twirly, I've said, is just properly an Amazon Echo. He's like, would you like to buy this? People who bought this also bought the other thing, and them telling like, stop upselling everything, for a moment. It's kind of nice.
I don't know if we're on that particular scene, but I do say about Twirly, what irks me is that the iPad they're showing to Twirly is out of shot. Even if she had put it so high that it was in frame just to cover her face, I think that would have been a good, subtly funny moment. And I just said, I think it was a missed opportunity. But just the fact that the iPad that they're showing it is out of shot really bugs me.
I never noticed, but I was busy praising the writing because I like how, like I said, Twirlies keep going and they tell it to pause the sales, and it replies, even upselling, but I can't. I'm here to serve Kerblam. And the way that they phrase it is like, well, patch into the system, look for the base code and deliver it to us, so that they phrase it in ways that programming can understand. It's kind of nice. Yeah, there's another.
I've never realised that. That is nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love little things like that.
Yeah, sometimes it is those little moments that you're like, oh, bless, somebody thought about it, so that's nice.
Yeah,
we do get the unfortunate scene next that I know you don't like, Will, and I kind of have to agree.
Dear God.
There's no route down; it's automated, so that they do that annoying. I like the kind of slide down; it's very Doctor Who kind of Beast Below-esque, but then that Star Wars Episode 2 scene on the conveyor belt, it's just bad. We don't need it. It has no place.
On behalf of Andrew, he did say the conveyor belt scene looks awful. Yep. And why does Ryan think it was a good idea to high-five Charlie? It was annoying. He also hates the line, we're totally not dead.
Yes.
And I just completely agree. Everything from the over-the-top direction and the shooting decisions to the over-the-top acting, coupled with terrible dialogue, too loud a musical score, awful CGI, and awful direction when Yaz and Ryan make the jump. That was the most critical of a scene I've ever been I'm sorry, but to be fair, Andrew did also say, "Why are there laser bolts in a decontamination chamber?"
I hate that scene. That's my worst part of a bad scene. It just the fact that the decontamination is lasers. It's somebody's idea of a hilarious joke, I'm sure.
I'm sorry, Rebecca, if you love this scene. I just shout all over it, but
I think it's quite fun, but it is a bit unrealistic.
Yeah, are you allowed to like it if you find it fun? And that obviously that's what it's for. So
it's definitely fun. But when I was
my
looking back
favorite
at it, I
scene
just
of
can't
all
get past it.
time. I don't
It's
have
your
like
favourite?
it framed on my wall,
now I feel bad.
but like
No, it was
no,
sarcasm.
I said it's not my favorite.
Oh, fair enough.
Oh dear.
Apologies, I'm sorry. This delay is a nightmare today, but yeah. So where was I? Yeah, I just don't like that scene. I think I do like that Ryan kind of mentions that he has to conquer his dyspraxia to get down there, but I think the whole scene could have just been cut and you could have just had it being like jump down a garbage chute kind of thing and then just arrive at the bottom leg. You don't need the conveyor belt area and all that nonsense. But anyway, it is kind of cool when they get to the bottom, even though it's blatantly just a car park, because it's lit quite well and looks quite sinister. But yeah. So then we get Twirly basically delivering the help me message and them learning that it was from the system. They need urgent help in dispatch, and the kind of sinister, it's where the others have gone. Oh no. The doctor saying that her mind is too crowded, she can't focus, was very much me at this point when I was trying to write notes. So I made a note of that. But they hijack the teleport, and then you get Slade pulling a gun and intervening, which basically just reveals him to have been another red herring, which again seems kind of pointless. But
Andrew did say he did like this. He also said the reveal that the system is what is asking for the help is a pretty genius subversion of expectation that makes perfect sense.
Yes.
And he also said just shortly after, another nice subversion is having Mr. Slade be good.
It is, but I think it's perhaps one of those twists too many. But anyway,
yeah.
That moment of like finding that the missing people are all just goop is quite Doctor Who yucky. But I don't know if I like it or I'm just supposed.
I just said it doesn't make perfect sense to me, and it seems like they missed the mark when trying to be sinister with it. But maybe that's just me.
I mean, it kind of makes sense when you realize what it is. It's like him testing the bomb, so they would be like when you see what happens to Kira. It's obviously a perfected version, so it's a green light, and she becomes.
Yeah, but then there we go. Why did Ryan not explode at the start when he popped the bubble wrap when they were testing?
Again, I explained that to you. They haven't sent those out yet.
Yeah, but you just said they.
Yeah, no, he was testing it. He mentions that at the end that he's tested the thing, which is why there's like 7 people that have gone missing because they're people that he obviously didn't like, that he was targeting to be like, oh, I'm going to test my bomb on you kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, then obviously the problem here is that we get Kira in what looks like the interrogation room, and that's not his plan at all. But anyway, yeah, then we cut back to the army of robots, which looks really cool to me anyway. I'm just a sucker for sci-fi stuff. They mentioned that that the bots are draining the power to store for a mass transport. They don't carry any weapons, and again, the really cool deduction of no, but they've all got toys. They're all different though. But what's one thing they've all got in common is the bubble wrap, which is cool. And then we cut to Kira's death scene, which is really harsh. This is a scene that brings up a really intriguing. Poor girl. It brings up an intriguing question to me, which I think is key to the episode, which it doesn't unfortunately answer, which I may pose to you two, which is who's responsible for Kira's death? Who kills her?
Well, it's the blooming guy, isn't it? It's his fault.
Is it though?
Yeah, he was the one who planned it, but then he accidentally gave her the package.
It was no accident. That's my point.
Yeah, so it was the bloke's fault. No, it was an accident.
It wasn't his fault at all. That's the thing. They mentioned later on, the system's innocent, it's got a conscience. But at the same time, say in the exposition, the system killed Kira to show Charlie how it would feel. I was like, are we kind of fine with a system that can just kill people? It seems like a really weird, like, don't worry about it.
That kind of makes sense.
Very strange.
Very. That's my point. Yeah, it's like, eh?
Andrew did say it was brutal and he did love it. Genuinely a moment that has stuck in his head since it first aired. Having the system fight back against Charlie by targeting his crush after it failed to kill him is sinister, sadistic, and really very clever.
again, though, it doesn't jibe with the end of the episode, but I'll get to my issues with that because we're almost there. And again, I don't want to keep you guys too long. So then we're into the final act at this point. Charlie mentions, as I've explained to you, needing test subjects, and he lied on his resume. He's actually what he would say as a freedom fighter because 10% of people isn't enough, and mentions that his generation changes things. But yeah, again, then as I said, the fact that the doctor then describes that the system has a conscience, because as I noted in my notes, but it killed Kira. So how good of a conscience?
I'm sorry, but I really don't like this scene. I just think it's all a mixture of badness.
I like the doctor's trying to appeal to the emotions and trying to get that connection. And the doctor, that's the thing. The delivery's good, but the dialogue and the explanation isn't. Like saying you're not an activist, the system isn't the problem.
That's exactly how I felt.
Yeah. How people can exploit the system is good. It's so weird.
I have spoken to him privately about this over the last week, but I do think Charlie's death was a bit ill-judged. Why did he go in all by the Kerblam men? I feel like it was a protagonist's death for the sake of one. Plus, why did he just stand there whilst the white light flashes and comes towards him? Why did he just stand there? And I think the explanation and resolution isn't the best, and I think this is where the episode becomes super shaky. The final 15 minutes specifically. Yeah,
I only have a few notes, so I'll just quickly get to the end and say that it's a nice callback to see that ripping the head off the robot is how they kind of stop it and everything. My favorite line of all time possibly is when they turn Twirly back on in the middle of this sort of tense action sequence, and he scans the doctor and says, "People with your readings also bought blood pressure medication."
Oh, that was my favorite line of the whole episode.
It's so well timed of a gag. It's just brilliant. It's a shame it's in a terrible scene overall in terms of theme and stuff, but I love that so much. I do think it's kind of clever that they change the address to the hangar so they deliver to themselves and then tell them to pop the bubble wrap. But again, I think that part's clever, but I do agree with you that Charlie doesn't make much sense other than the fact that he's the antagonist and you have to get rid of him. But at least you do sort of have the doctor say, teleport with us, it's your last chance, come along, we'll save you, rather than letting him die or wanting him to die. But it's ultimately his stupidity and kind of like, why are you just languishing about there, man? But yeah, that seems weird. It seems like there's something missing there, like him mentioning that he feels suicidal and wants to go or something might have helped that scene. But yeah, in any case, then we get the doctor punning when they teleport away, and there's a big explosion, and she says, "Oh, if you want it, Kerblam it." And I just thought, yeah, we get the picture. Yeah. All right, it's Kerblamazon, love, whatever. But yeah. The systems are already coming back online, which very much sounds like a can't stop the system kind of thing for me, which again kind of leaves you with a very weird ending, which comes across not all that well resolved and kind of sinister. They get told that everyone's been given 2 weeks paid vacation, like it's the best deal in the world. That they're going to propose all of a sudden that it's
I know, it just felt very weird to me how they went from that suddenly to, oh, we've done this and this and this, and I think we just saw you escape, and now we're like what they're saying is surely a process that takes several days, maybe even a couple of weeks, but we're meant to believe this is like an hour later. Just no,
it's too convenient and too fast, and yeah, it's very much like we need to wrap it up and we need to try and make it sound happy. So yeah, suddenly it's going to be majority organics now, and it's all good. We've worked everything out. We're giving people 2 weeks paid leave. We still have a murderous system in charge, but never mind. We'll just ignore that.
I did say it was nice overall with 1 or 2 nitpicks, but I didn't want to seem overly critical with it. So I'll just say, yes, it's a nice little wrap up to a good episode. And of course, the characters looking back at the bubble wrap when they're in the TARDIS at the very end, I said it was a solid end. It was fine. I don't dislike it. I don't love it.
I like that end bit in terms of like, oh yeah, I get it. It's a nice thematic ending. But my favorite part of the end is, again, it's just having more character development for Yaz, as she points out that Dan saved her life by swapping the jobs, and can we please go to his daughter and take her back this necklace and everything. Though again, it's great character development for Yasmin. It is there. So that takes us to the end. So Rebecca, did you have anything that we haven't touched on that you'd noted down that you wanted to mention, or?
I do not know. What did I put in my notes? Hang on. Sorry, they've gone.
It's okay.
Right, hang on.
No,
but I put it's one of my favorite 13th Doctor episodes by far. I love all the moments with Graham, especially. I think Bradley Walsh is the highlight for me. Maybe
Okay,
I'm just
fair
saying that
enough.
because I'm a Bradley Walsh stan.
It's allowed.
I love Barry Walsh, yeah.
I think it's just a fun Doctor Who episode that's just a bit strange.
Yeah, that's a perfect way of summing it up. I would say the same, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so was that all you kind of you had to mention that we haven't touched on, really?
Well, I mean, yeah, because you've said everything I want to say, so.
You just agree. Well, you were chiming in, agreeing with a lot of it, and I think it is stuff that's standard. What's good is good, and what's bad is exactly like you said. So yeah, we end with a little conclusion and then our score out of 10. So did you have a conclusion and a score for us, Rebecca?
Well, my conclusion is that it's good.
It's good, isn't it?
It's my log line.
That's my log line, yeah. I'd give it a 7 out of 10, I think, because it's not my favourite ever, but it's it's just sorry, I just cannot speak anymore for some reason. It's just
Don't worry, it's fine.
a fun episode that should be standard. You know, I wish that was the standard for series 11, but unfortunately, there were just some low points.
You're hitting on basically
I'm
the
just
things that no, you're hitting on the things that I would have said, except way more succinctly than I would put them, which is that it's a slightly above average episode. It would be good if everything in season 11 was even as good as this, but ultimately, while it's fun, it's kind of morally bankrupt and doesn't know what it wants to say. So I'd say that's probably your conclusion, and that you would ultimately give it the 7 out of 10 score. So did you want to give your conclusion and Andy's?
Oh, Jesus Christ, pardon me. Did you hear that?
No.
That was the loudest burp and longest burp I've ever done. I've literally been eating what do you call it?
You're a nightmare, man. If you're not
I've been eating a chip butty for the last 10 minutes. I hope it wasn't picked up. I did have Andrew's conclusion down first and then mine.
Okay.
So I'll just let me get the thing on my teeth first. Lovely. You can't say I didn't make this entertaining. I said a very clever and well-paced episode that makes the start. This is Andrew, by the way. That makes the smart move of taking his time to establish his characters and saying along with how Kerblam works and operates, as well as plant all of its necessary plot seeds for its later reveals. The result is a thoroughly enjoyable and pretty great episode of Doctor Who with genuinely smart twists and subversions of expectations. 13 and Yaz are great. Graham is good for the most part, and Ryan is more tolerable than usual. It's the standout guest star, but everyone pulls their weight. The villain motivation and solution aren't the best, but they're serviceable for the story and does not detract too much from the otherwise brilliant stuff on display in this episode. He gave it an 8.5 out of 10. He said, my personal favorite Chibnall era episode. Favorite doesn't mean best, although it's still one of the best. I know, I thought that
higher than I would have thought, even from Andy. Wow. Okay.
But yeah, he really enjoyed the episode, so fair play, Andy. And we are incorporating Andrew's score into the average. So
yes, because we decided we did just for the viewers, we did basically have a conversation, myself and Will, and decided it's not Andy's fault he's not well, but we can't really have Will on and not count his score as well, so we'll just count all 4 in the average. So anyway, so what was your
mine?
thoughts?
Was a bit more average than his conclusion. I said a solid story of series 11. That is certainly one of the best the series has to offer. For context, it would be my top 4 from series 11. It starts very well, and the eerie tone and character building moments are done very well. Paced decently, but plotted well, so praise must go towards the writer, P. McTighe. I like the red herrings, and the score from Akinola was good overall, and so are these red herrings very well. Pardon me again. The side cast are generally fine, and I wouldn't say there are too many side characters. If there were, I definitely didn't get that impression, as they were all given sufficient screen time, and though Java Slade is one that wasn't fleshed out well, if at all. But praise must go to Julie and also Claudia. As for the negatives, the entire final 15 minutes try too hard to do gritty sci-fi and detracts from all the very good establishment work that was done beforehand. However, it does not take my score down too much, since the first half I'd consider very good, But the second half I'd consider slightly below average, and that drags it to just below good, though I'd still consider it a solid bordering on good story. But 15 minutes out of a 48-minute episode does take its toll on the score. As you can imagine, it's like over a quarter of the episode. It's fine. I do like it. It's a very reasonable 6.5 out of 10. And that's my conclusion.
Okay. So a reasonable 6.5
Those
out
are so
of 10.
See, I'm
They're really not.
podcasting, but I feel like I just say, "Oh yeah, it's good." I have to work
That's all right.
on my
No,
painting
it's not a problem.
skills.
I think after about 18 episodes of the podcast recordings, we do become very, very particular with this. But then on our first episode, I'm sure we were also we had less chemistry, I would say, and I'm sure you would agree, Michael.
Yeah, it took us a while it definitely took me a while as a sort of quite a shy person to come into my own and to be able to feel comfortable and everything.
I must say though, this episode has been fantastic, and I know we're not concluding up yet, but Rebecca, it's been great to talk to you. It's been fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
You're
that
the
really
sweetest,
means a
and
lot.
it would be really nice to
welcome.
talk to you again sometime, definitely for sure, when you're a bit
Sure,
less
yeah.
nervous. But I don't blame you at all. Yeah. But again, your opinions are solid, and you know what you're talking about. And I know that you yourself would say it shouldn't be that shocking that the Doctor Who fandom has attractive women in it. So let's not.
And she gives birth to metal figurines.
Yeah, she gives birth to a weird combination of robots, catapults, and Balal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll give my conclusion and just ruin your impression of me because it's a very long, pompous conclusion.
Oh, for God's sake. Let's
Got
go.
it written down,
But
so
we
let's
love
go with
those
it.
long, complex conclusions.
This backs up her point about us being very particular. You're not helping the stereotype here,
It
Michael.
doesn't. The problem is that I'm not articulate enough, so I just rambled for too long. I'll get it over with and say that it was an oddly paced story trying to cram a lot into its runtime. As with much of the Chibnall era, I thought that did include way too many characters. There's also big ideas and themes which are good to see brought up, but they're left with lip service as the story seems to be racing to an end from the moment it begins. You get the sense here there's enough here for a two-parter or a classic Who serial, which would give everything a chance to breathe and give more impact. The acting, though, is 90% excellent. And writer Pete McTighe finds time for some great character beats and story. Inevitably, no, there's not enough for everyone to get this, and that shows. It's a nice touch that the bad guy bosses are innocent, but that sadly is their entire character. They may as well be literal red herrings. And again, why is there two of them? Seems odd. The core idea being satirized comes so fast and muddled that I can see how it was unclear, although I personally see the point as ultimately still being critical of the people at the top who exploit. Glamazon indeed, but the story hasn't got a Jeff Bezos, and the villain being someone who wants to oppose this exploitation is a total narrative mistake, which just doesn't work on anything but a base level. But still, it looks fantastic. There's some brilliant action, a few funny moments, and Jodie is a rock in the center holding it all together, which doesn't seem easy. The ending is the right result, but again, it comes from nowhere. So not bad, a fun little average Doctor Who action romp with a serviceable attempt to do the old something familiar is scary trick. Ultimately, though, this comes off as maybe a first draft or a story that's been meddled with or cut down. Not bad, but certainly the series is capable of more. That said, there's a good frame of a story with some punchy fun gags and memorable moments, making an entertaining, if somewhat hollow, sci-fi adventure, and I give it a 7 out of 10.
Jesus Christ, I just deep-throated my bloody, what do you call it, chip.
You are such a fool.
You old fool.
It's like doing a podcast with Mr. Bean. It really is.
Leave me alone, I'm not that bad.
You were saying, yeah, we matched our scores, Rebecca. How weird was that? And
We did. We're twins.
you took like a tenth of the time as I did to come to the same conclusions.
I really like what you said about it being like a first draft. That is such a good point.
Yeah, it does seem that way. Or I'm not sure, like I say, if Pete McTighe maybe wrote it as a two-parter or a longer episode and got it cut down. But yeah, anyway.
I do have the average score just before we do wrap this up. If we don't include Andrew's outlier, it comes to a 6.8. But since we are including Andrew's score, it is a 7.25 out of 10.
7.25. That's reasonable. Myself and Rebecca both came to the conclusion it was a 7, and that's more or less,
I think that's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, that was 2 7s, a 6.5, and an 8.5. So seems to be kind of a consensus. Maybe Andy was just a little bit fonder of it than we were.
I think he's always liked that episode as well. So, I mean, that's fair enough. He likes the episode.
Yeah, just to clarify my comments from earlier, I do think there's much better. I love the Witchfinders in Series 11.
And Demons of the Punjab.
And Demons of the Punjab. And I like Rosa. It could have done with a better villain, but I think all three of those are probably better than this. So anyway, that's off topic. But yeah, so again, thanks again for joining us, Rebecca. It's been a real pleasure. It's been nice getting to know you a little. Well,
I've had so much fun.
Awesome. Oh, well, that's great. It's always fun talking about stuff you love. So I'll definitely be keen to have you back again sometime. Maybe if you're
better
less
do,
nervous.
or I'll set Jim on you.
Is that supposed to be a threat? Because I love Jim. I'll just steal him from you.
No, you're my child.
Just to end things then, Rebecca, do you have anywhere that you wanted to plug? Any social medias or YouTubes or anything for the listeners?
Well, I mainly post on my Twitter, which is at RebecTV. Just a warning, though, I do get a bit chaotic on there.
It's a great follow, though, and I
maybe
think
have a drink before you look. And I do have a YouTube channel with the same name. I will upload to at some point. Just haven't really been in the mood.
That's understandable, yeah. I love how honest and kind of open your Twitter is, but also there are times when you're just the funniest person that I follow on occasion. So it's a great follow. Will, did you want to plug your stuff?
You guys know, again, in the description, all the links will be there. So if you want to check me out, go for it. But more importantly, go check out Rebecca and also the Twitter for the podcast. Yes. I'm not important. Just go to the podcast and also Rebecca, and I'll be fine with that. So yeah, thank you.
Do you still have the game shows that you did up on a YouTube channel somewhere?
Yes, the Who Game Shows is still up, and I may as well, as you know, I did foreshadow this the other day. I did go on a bit of a tangent on like one evening earlier this week. I just put out a ton of tweets, and on one of the tweets, I literally said I'm going to be announcing another game show very soon. Early April is the announcement, and then it'll be coming out in June, and then another one, the one I'm keen to have Rebecca on for. I think that will be recorded a month or two later, and it'll literally just take 20 minutes of participation. I think Michael knows which one I'm on about. Be the Chasers. That one has been announced, so I may as well just say it. Be the Chasers, Doctor Who edition, YouTuber special.
I'd love to come on. I love the chase.
Oh, it's so good because I took part in a couple of them, and Will's questions are really good. And when he actually has the right answers, it's quite good. There's a hilarious moment in one of them when he just gets every fact wrong. Says that the first appearance of the Silurians is in the Time Warrior, and says that what was the other one you mentioned, that Liz Shaw was in a Joe Grant story or something silly.
Stark was only in one Christmas special.
Oh goodness, never mind. But no, a lot of it is 99% way more professional, and it's such fun to take part in and to listen back to. So check that out if you like. Again, I'll echo what Will said and say join us at the Twitter for the podcast, which is at podcast HOM, capital P, capital H, little O, big M. And I am at Iron Mike Wilson on Twitter. I'm just my name on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Don't have a lot on YouTube, but I'm contemplating perhaps adding some things. So maybe keep an eye on that in case I do that. And in the meantime, thanks again. Thanks, Will, for stepping in last minute for us.
I hope you go well too, Andy.
Our lives with that. And thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully. Thanks again so much, Rebecca, for joining us. It's been great.
Hopefully, thank you for having me.
No problem. Hopefully, we haven't bored you too much for the last couple of hours.
No, I loved it.
Awesome. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day, and you too, Will. And I'll probably get in touch with you later, Will. And take care, everybody. Enjoy. We'll be back next week with another legendary guest star, Mr. Dominic Martin, the Purple Doctor himself.
I'm so looking forward to listening to that one.
What a
Dominic is such a legendary guy.
I know. I can't believe he agreed to come on it. And we're going to be reviewing a popular story as well, the Fifth Doctor's regeneration story, The Caves of Androzani. So join me, Dom, and hopefully Andrew.
That'll be a sexy and cute episode. It will.
It definitely will.
Mm.
Because Caves of Androzani is your baby. So, but yeah, enjoy. Have a sexy, cute day.
Definitely.
I'll speak to you both later. Take care.
In a bit.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like, subscribe. Peace.
Bye. Great.
Bye. 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 See you in a bit.
Bye.